Lux Presents Hollywood was the opening line for one of the best radio programs of the golden days of radio. A South African version of Lux Radio Theatre ran on Springbok Radio between 1950 and 1985. While having the same name and sponsor, it departed from the American show in that, additionally, British and Australian works were adapted into the hour-long radio formats. Many of the early episodes were direct rebroadcasts of the Australian programs. Lux Radio Theatre was the most enduring show on Springbok Radio, running from the first night of the network's broadcasting life until 6 months before it went off the air.
Good evening. This is Peter Tobin introducing Lux Radio Theatre. Tonight and every Monday night at this time, Lux Radio Theatre presents for your entertainment the finest in radio drama. This week we bring you The Sacred Flame, a gripping drama by W. Somerset Maugham. When crippled Maurice Tablet dies suddenly, no one questions the doctor's statement that he died of heart failure. No one, that is, except Nurse Wayland, who insists that he has been murdered. But who would want to kill Maurice? His devoted wife, Stella, his mother, who adored him, his brother, Colin. Listen in a few moments to the devastating consequences of Nurse Wayland's bitter accusation in The Sacred Flame, produced for Lux Radio Theatre by Anne Freed and directed by Henry Diffenthal. And now, Act One of tonight's Lux Radio Theatre presentation, The Sacred Flame.
Speed is the essence of the game of chess, old fellow.
Don't let your son bully me, Mrs. Tablet.
I think you're quite capable of taking care of yourself, Doctor.
If you moved your bishop, you'd make things a bit awkward for me.
Morris, when I want your advice, I'll ask for it.
Mother, is that the way respectable general practitioners talk to their patients in the days of your far-distant youth?
How on earth do you expect poor Nurse Wayland to read when you never for an instant hold your tongue? I can't even hear myself knitting.
I don't mind, Mrs. Tablet. Don't worry about me.
After listening to my lively conversation and wheeling me around for nearly 5 years, Nurse Wayland pays no more attention to me than if I were a deaf mute.
Well, who can blame her?
I know it's exasperating.
It's worse than that, Nurse. It's inconsiderate.
If you please, ma'am, Major Leconda wants to know if it's too late for him to come in to have a drink.
Of course not.
Ask him to come in, Alice.
Very good, ma'am.
You know him, don't you, Doctor?
No, I've never met him. He's the fellow who's just taken that furnished house on the golf links, isn't he?
Yes, we knew him years ago in India. That's why he came here.
Is he a soldier?
No, he was a policeman. He's retired now.
Oh.
He was one of Mother's numerous admirers.
Morris.
Nice chap. And I believe he's a rather good golfer. Colin has played with him once or twice.
I asked him to dine tonight so that Morris could get a game of bridge, but he couldn't come.
Major Leconda?
Oh, good evening, John.
Hello.
How nice of you to come in.
I was on my way home and I saw your lights on, so I thought I'd just ask if anyone would like to give me a Doc and Doris.
Oh, help yourself. The whiskey's on the table.
Thanks, Millie. How are you, nurse?
Fine, thanks.
And the patient?
Bearing up pretty well, considering all he has to put up with.
You're in your usual high spirits, I see.
I don't think you know Dr. Harvester.
How do you do, Major?
Don't let me disturb your game.
It's finished.
Have you beaten him?
Hollow.
I haven't come to stay, only to say I was sorry I couldn't come to dinner. I'll just swallow my drink and take myself off.
There's no hurry. I'm not going to bed for hours.
We're really waiting up for Stella and Colin. They've gone to the opera. Morris, why don't you let Nurse Wayland get you ready? Then you'll only have to slip into bed and Colin can help you.
All right. What do you say, Nurse?
It's just as you like. I'm quite prepared to stay up until Mrs. Morris comes in and put you to bed after you've said goodnight to her.
No, come on. You look tired. Put your shoulder to the wheel, nurse, and gently trundle the wounded hero to his bedchamber.
I'll be back in 10 minutes.
She seems a very nice woman, that nurse.
Yes, she's extremely competent, and her patience is really wonderful.
She's a jolly good nurse, and you're very lucky to have her.
Oh, I'm sure we were. It's a pity she's so tactless. It never seems to occur to her that Morris wants to be alone with his wife. He likes to say goodnight to Stella last thing, and he likes to say it without anyone looking on. That's why he's staying up now.
Poor boy. I suppose he's absolutely dependent on a nurse?
Absolutely. All sorts of rather unpleasant things have to be done for him, poor dear. And he can't bear that anyone should know about them, especially Stella.
Is there really no chance of his getting better, Dr. Harvester?
No, I'm afraid not. He was terribly smashed up, you know. The lower part of his spine was broken, and he was badly burned when the plane caught fire.
What a shocking thing to happen.
Yes, indeed.
When you think that he was flying all through the war and never had a mishap. It's so silly that this should happen just when he was trying out a new machine. It was so unexpected.
His courage amazes me. He never seems low or depressed.
Never. His spirits are wonderful. It's heartbreaking to watch him in dreadful pain and still forcing a joke from his lips.
You know, I'm sorry Colin is going away so soon, Mrs. Tablett. I think his being here has done Morris a lot of good.
Yes. As boys, they were great friends, which isn't always the case with brothers. Colin's been away so long. He went to Central America just before Morris crashed, you know.
Does he have to go back?
Well, he put his share of his father's money in a coffee plantation. Oh, it's doing very well. He loves the life out there. And it seems cruel to ask him to give it all up to help look after his crippled brother.
I think it would be most unfair. One has no right to ask anyone to give up his own chance of making the best he can of life, you know?
Here we are again. Fixed up and ready for any excitement. Aren't I, nurse? What's that?
What?
I thought I heard a car. Yes, I did. It's Stella. She's in her new evening dress tonight, Doctor. Just wait till you see her.
Which opera was on tonight?
Tristan. That's why I insisted on Stella going. It was after seeing Tristan that we got engaged. Do you remember, Mother?
Oh, of course I do. It was a wonderful evening. Oh, here she is.
Stella!
Hello, my darling. Have you missed me?
Why are you back so early, you bad girl? You promised me to go and have supper. Why didn't you take her, Colin? Well, good evening, Doctor.
Well, darling, I was so thrilled and excited by the opera, I felt I simply couldn't eat a thing.
Hang it all.
Oh, hello, Doctor. Hello, Major.
You might have gone to Lucian's and had some supper. What's the good of my spending the earth buying you a magnificent new dress when you won't let anyone see it?
But, darling, I wanted to show it off in the intervals, but it seemed so grand that I hadn't the nerve. I kept my cloak on.
Well, take it off now and show the gentlemen.
Oh.
Come on.
Oh, you are a bully, Morris. Oh, there you are, then. Oh, you've made me feel shy now.
Stand up so we can all see.
Ah, it's lovely.
Oh,
Stella, what's the matter? Catch her, Colin. She's going to fall. There you are. Come on. Sit down.
yeah, I'm all right. Nothing, just a little faintness.
Stella.
It's all right, Morris. Don't fuss. Put your head between your knees, Stella.
Let me help you.
No, I'll be all right in a minute. Oh, silly of me.
My belief is that she's just faint from lack of food. Nurse, would you mind going into the kitchen and seeing if you can find anything for these silly young people to eat?
Of course not. I'll make them some sandwiches.
Colin can get a bottle of champagne from the cellar.
All right, Mother. Is there any ice in ours? I've got a thirst I wouldn't sell for £20.
Well, I'll say goodbye. I'm sorry you're feeling poorly, Stella.
Oh, Mother's right. All I need is a large sandwich, preferably ham.
You're looking better now. For a few moments, you're as white as a sheet.
Good night, everyone.
Oh,
Good night,
goodbye.
Mary.
Goodbye.
John.
Goodbye.
It was nice of you to look in.
Don't worry, I'll see myself out.
If you're not in a hurry, Doctor, wait and have a sandwich with us. And in the meantime, let's take a turn in the garden, shall we? It's so lovely and warm.
Good idea. If the ham sandwiches, I hope Nurse Whalen has the sense to use plenty of mustard.
Stella, are you sure you're all right?
Oh, my darling. I'm sorry I made such a fool of myself.
You scared the life out of me. Why didn't you go on and have supper before coming home?
Oh, I didn't want to. I wanted to get back.
But Stella, you go out so seldom. Oh, this is no life for you. Tied up to a cripple. You're young.
Oh, darling, don't. Please. I'm not missing anything, I promise you.
The fact is, you've lost the habit of going out and having fun.
Nothing is fun if you can't share it.
Now, don't be idiotic, my poor darling. I wish Colin weren't going away so soon. At least you've been able to get out and around with him.
He only came home for 6 months, and he stayed nearly a year.
You promised you'd try to persuade him to stay on a bit.
No, but he must get back to his work.
I suppose so. I was thinking of you.
Oh, now, Morris, darling, you must stop fussing because you think I'm having a thin time. I'm not. You never try to prevent me from doing anything I want to. I don't know what it is to be bored. Why, I haven't time for half the things I want to do.
Yes, you're wonderful, Stella. You always have been. You've made the best of a bad job, all right. I've had to, but why should you?
Oh, my darling, don't talk like that. I married you because I loved you. It would be unspeakable if I stopped loving you now that you need my love more than ever.
Oh, my dear. We can't love because we ought to. Love comes and goes, and we can none of us help ourselves.
Morris, what do you mean? Have I done anything to make you think I wasn't the same as I'd always been?
Of course not, darling. You've been an angel. Always. What's the matter? You suddenly went quite pale. You're not feeling faint again?
No, I'm all right.
Perhaps I seem to take for granted all that you do for me, but don't think I'm not conscious all the time how much I owe you.
But I've done nothing for you.
I've never let you nurse me. Well, I couldn't bear that you should have anything to do with the sordid side of my illness. You know that I'm never going to get well, Stella, don't you?
I don't indeed. It's a long business, we know that, but I'm absolutely convinced you'll get much better.
No. They pretend they can do something in order to give me hope. I pretend to believe them because it's the easiest thing to do. But I know I'm on this invalid bed for life, Stella.
Oh, then let's take what comfort we can in the great joy we've had in one another, in the days when you were well and strong. I shall always be grateful for the happiness you gave me and for your love.
Do you think that's changed? I love you as deeply, as devotedly as I ever did. You're everything in the world to me, Stella. I ought to be frightened because I'm so dependent on you, but I'm not. Because I know, not just with my mind or my heart, but with every nerve in me, with every little feeling and every pain, how good you are to me.
Oh, darling, why are you saying all this to me tonight?
Because I owe you so much. You know, Stella, when you're an invalid, you find out all sorts of interesting things. People are sympathetic, but you mustn't abuse their sympathy. You soon discover it bores them if you talk about yourself. You must make jokes, make them laugh, so they feel they needn't be sorry for you. Then they go away feeling relieved and kindly disposed towards you.
Oh, my darling, you break my heart. It's so cruel that you should have had to learn such bitter truths.
My dear, they're not as bitter as all that. I shouldn't have mentioned it, only I wanted to tell you that it's you who've given me the courage to carry on. I can stand anything as long as I know I shall see you tomorrow and the next day and the day after and always.
Oh, Morris, I'm unworthy of such love. I'm so ashamed. I'm selfish, thoughtless.
Never. And you're so beautiful. You've never looked more beautiful than you do tonight. What is it that gives you this sudden new radiance?
Well, I don't know why I should look any different from usual.
I watch your face. I know every change in it from day to day. A year ago, you had a strained look, but now, lately, you've had an air that is strangely peaceful. You gained a sort of lovely serenity. Oh, Stella, if only we'd had a child. Someone I could see as part of you and me. And you would have had something to console you. You wouldn't have felt you'd entirely wasted your life.
But Morris, darling, I don't feel I've wasted my life. Oh, look, you're not yourself tonight. You're ill and tired.
I love you, Stella. I want to take you in my arms, as I used to. I want to press my lips to yours and see your eyes close and your head fall back and feel your dear, soft body. Stella, I can't bear it.
Oh, hush now, my darling, please. Darling, don't.
It would have been better for both of us if I'd been killed when I crashed.
Darling.
I'm no use to you. I'm no use to anybody.
No, darling, don't, please, darling.
Forgive me, Stella. Oh, what a complete fool I am.
Oh, my dear. You frightened me.
It's what they call a nerve storm. It's a good thing Nurse Wayland didn't see me like that. Give me my handkerchief.
Oh, yes, here you are. Whiskey and soda is what you want. I'll get you one.
No. I'll have one later.
Oh.
In bed.
Yes. Sorry I've been so long. There wasn't any ham, so I made toasted bacon sandwiches.
Oh, they look delicious. I'll call the others. Oh, Dr. Harvester, come and have a sandwich before it gets cold.
Stella.
Yes, darling.
Darling, if you don't mind, I think I'll turn in. I suddenly feel very tired.
Oh, I'm sorry, Morris.
Did I hear you calling me?
Yes, you did. Morris doesn't want anything to eat. He's going to bed.
Oh, I'm so glad. It's very late. Good night, my boy. Sleep well.
Good night, Mother. Bless you.
Here, let me give you a hand, Nurse.
I can manage perfectly. I'm so used to wheeling the invalid bed, and he weighs nothing.
Never mind. Let me push him.
Look in on your way to bed, Stella.
Yes, of course, darling. Oh, don't be long, Doctor, or the sandwiches will be stone cold. Morris is rather nervy tonight. Sorry I went to the opera.
Oh, my dear, you go out so seldom.
I haven't the inclination, really.
You're tired. Why don't you eat something?
No, I'll wait for the others.
Whatever happens, darling, I want you to know that I'm deeply grateful for all that you've done for Morris.
Why do you say that? You don't think he's getting worse?
No, I think he's just the same. I just wanted you to know that I realize what a great sacrifice you've made for him. After all, you didn't marry Morris to be the wife of a helpless cripple.
Well, one must take the rough with the smooth.
You're a young and beautiful woman. You have the right to live your life just as anyone else has. For 5 years now, you've given up everything to be the sole comfort of a man who was your husband, only because a legal ceremony had joined you together.
Oh, no, because love had joined us together.
My poor child. I'm so desperately sorry for you. Whatever the future may have in store, I shall never forget your courage, your self-sacrifice, and your patience.
But I don't understand what you mean.
Don't you? Well, let us suppose that it is the anniversary of my wedding day, and my thoughts have been much occupied with the ups and downs of marriage. Ah, here you are at last, Colin. You'd better pour us some wine.
Right. Where's Dr. Harvester?
Here I am. I've been with Morris. I'll just have a sandwich and swallow my wine and then be off.
Is Morris all right?
Oh, fairly. He's a bit down tonight for some reason. I don't know why. He was in great spirits earlier in the evening.
I expect he's tired. He insisted on staying up.
And I've left a sleeping draught that he can take later if he wants it.
And I'll go up and see him before I go to bed. If he can get a good rest, I'm sure he'll be his usual self in the morning.
Well, I must get home. Good night, Mrs. Stavret, and thanks for a very pleasant evening.
I'll see you to the door, and I'll go straight to bed. Good night, children.
Good night.
Good night, Mother. Good night, Doctor.
Good night, Doctor. Stella. Stella, darling.
Oh, Colin.
Poor darling.
Oh, Colin, what have we done? Morris was so strange tonight. I couldn't make him out. It was almost as though he suspected.
No, impossible.
He must never know. Never. I'd do anything in the world to prevent it. Why did you ever love me? Oh, why did I ever love you?
Stella, come here. My darling.
No. No. Oh, I'm so ashamed.
Excuse me, my dear. Could you pass me a packet of Radion?
Why, of course. Here.
Never use anything else to get my wash really white, do you? You know, whoops, mind the trolley. Radion is a wash out, a white in.
What?
Radion, an absolute white in, a clean up, a fresh in, and Radion's so good in washing machines. My wash is whiter to the last sock. Pow! Radion with Sunflakes. Pure white power. Remember that. Now I'll be on with my shopping. Mind the trolley.
Well, I never. A white in. Radion it is, then. Pure white power. Pow!
Shield brings you the dry look. Shield brings you the dry look with Stay Dry, a formulation unique to the newest Shield aerosol deodorant. It keeps you cool, confident, and feeling poised even in the sheerest of fashions. And Shield's extra dry spray never stings or burns your skin, even if you use Shield right after a bath. Stay dry with Shield, the only deodorant with Stay Dry.
My dear Colin, I've only just heard. I can't tell you how sorry I am.
It was nice of you to come.
I was at the golf club and old Blake came to me and said, I say, have you heard that poor Morris Tabrit died last night? I couldn't believe it.
I'm afraid it's true all the same.
Morris seemed comparatively well last night and in such good spirits. Was he taken worse in the night?
No.
He just died in his sleep.
I suppose so. He can't have felt ill or would have rung for Nurse Wayland.
When did you find out, then?
Well, you see, sometimes if he had had a bad night, he slept late in the morning. Stella insisted that no one should go in to him until he rang. It was the only matter in which there'd been any friction between her and Nurse Wayland.
She was quite right. At least the poor chap was happy when he was asleep.
We were just finishing breakfast when Nurse Wayland came in. I noticed she was very white. She said she had just been in to Morris. Stella was furious. I've never seen her so angry. Nurse Wayland was trembling. She looked all funny, scared, you know. I had the feeling something was wrong. Is anything the matter, Nurse? I asked. She gave a sort of cry and clenched her hands and said, "He's dead."
How terrible.
Stella gave a sort of gasp and went into a dead faint.
And your mother?
Oh, Mother was wonderful. I sprang forward to help Stella, and I saw Mother just sitting at the table. She was awfully white. And then she began to tremble. She never made a sound. Just shrank back into her chair and suddenly became an old woman. She just said, "You'd better go for Dr. Harvester." I shall never get the sound of her voice out of my ears.
Oh, hold on, old man. Don't tell me any more if it upsets you.
No, I'm all right. There's nothing more to tell. Mother and Nurse Wayland attended Stella, and I went for the doctor. He said Morris had been dead for a good 2 hours. And probably heart failure.
How about Stella?
She's all right now.
And your mother?
Harvester's with her. Ah, here he is.
How is Mrs. Tabret?
Very upset. Trying not to show it. She has wonderful self-control.
Do you think she'd like to see me?
I'm sure she would. Oh, Nurse Wayland, is my mother asleep?
No, only resting, Mr. Collin.
Then I'll go and ask her, Major. I won't be a moment.
I told you to go and lie down, nurse.
I couldn't. I'm too restless.
Oh, it's been a shock, no less for you than the family.
Yes, a great shock. He was always so brave and cheerful.
It was always on the cards that he'd go out suddenly.
Like a candle that you blow out when you don't want it anymore. Where does the flame go then?
My dear, I'm afraid you're taking poor Morris's death a good deal more to heart than is wise.
Did you think he was only a case to me? Even a nurse is human. Strange as it may seem, she has a heart like other people.
Of course she has a heart. But it doesn't do her or her patients any good if she allows her emotions to get the better of her common sense.
What, in your opinion, Doctor, did Morris Tabret actually die of?
Heart failure.
Are you going to put that on the death certificate?
Certainly.
You've told me half a dozen times that Morris might have lived for years.
He might have. I can tell you now that it's a blessing for everyone concerned that he didn't.
Dr. Harvester, Morris Tabret was murdered.
What are you talking about?
Do you want me to repeat it? Morris Tabret was murdered.
Do you mean that you intended that statement to be taken quite literally?
Quite.
But, my dear, why should anyone want to murder poor Morris?
That, at present, is no business of mine.
Now, look here, nurse. You know perfectly well that everyone connected with him was devoted to Morris. No one was ever more surrounded by love and affection than he was. It's incredible that anyone should even have wished him harm.
Whatever I may think or may not think, I'm at liberty to keep to myself.
Oh, come now. You know as well as I do that Morris died of natural causes. What on earth is the use of making a fuss and getting everyone upset?
If he died of natural causes, a post-mortem will prove it. And then I shall have nothing more to say.
I am not going to have a post-mortem. It's quite unnecessary.
I must warn you. If you sign the death certificate, I shall go straight to the coroner and protest.
I should have thought the Tabrets have enough to put up with without your forcing such an ordeal on them.
Major Laconda, you were in the police, weren't you? Tell me, what is the duty of a nurse who has reason to believe her patient has died by foul play?
I suppose her duty is quite clear. But I think she should be sure that her reasons are valid before she exposed to distress and publicity a family that has treated her with unvarying kindness.
Yes. Yes, you're right. Everyone in this house has treated me with the greatest consideration. I do at least owe it to them to make no charges behind their back.
Does that mean you want them sent for?
Yes. In point of fact, I think I hear Mrs. Tabret coming now.
I'll go and fetch Stella.
My dear Major, how kind of you to come.
Oh, I felt I must come and see you for a moment. I'm sure you know how deeply I sympathize with you. If there's any way I can be of service.
Thank you. I'm trying to put my own feelings out of sight and mind and think only that my son's martyrdom has ended. I won't weep because he is dead. I will rejoice because he is free.
Good morning, Major Laconda. Dr. Harvester told me you were here.
I came to say how much I feel for you and your great loss.
Thank you. You know, Morris and I often talked of death. He was never afraid of it. He didn't even attach much importance to it. He asked me not to wear mourning for him, but to go about and do things exactly as if he were alive.
He loved you so much, Stella. He put your happiness above everything.
Nurse Wayland, you'll be leaving us now, I suppose. I want to thank you for everything you did for Morris and to tell you how deeply grateful I am to you.
I don't need gratitude. I only did my duty.
What's the matter?
Stella, I've got something unpleasant to tell you. I would sooner not have to add to your present trouble, but I'm afraid it can't be avoided.
But what is it?
Nurse Wayland is not satisfied that Morris's death was due to his illness. She thinks there was some other cause.
But I don't understand. What other cause could there be?
She says he was murdered.
Oh, murdered? You must be mad, nurse.
It's preposterous. However, I presume she has some grounds for her statement. What are they?
Well, nurse?
You all know that Mr. Morris suffered from sleeplessness. Dr. Harvester had prescribed a sedative, chlorolin. Will you repeat the instructions you gave me last night, Doctor?
Morris was excited and overwrought. I asked Nurse Wayland to give him a tablet and told him that if he woke in the night, he could take it.
I dissolved the tablet in half a glass of water and put it by his side. There were 5 tablets left. This morning, the bottle was empty.
That's very strange.
Very.
Would 5 tablets have been a fatal dose, Doctor?
6, including the one I left for him.
Yes, there's no doubt the effect would have been fatal.
It's incredible. Well, it's much more likely that someone took them for his own use.
If so, they must have been taken after I went to bed.
But no one went into Morris's room last night after that but me. I went in to say good night to him. You're not under the impression that I took the tablets, I suppose, Nurse Wayland?
If you had, you could presumably produce at least 4 of them. Believe me, if you'd taken those 5 tablets at midnight, you wouldn't be sitting here now.
The fact remains that 5 tablets disappeared last night. Where are they?
Doctor, is it possible that Morris can have died from chloral poisoning?
I've told you that I was satisfied that death was due to natural causes.
I wasn't asking that.
Yes, of course, it's possible. But I don't for an instant believe it.
But I'm so confused. It's come as such a terrible shock. Nurse Wayland, do you really think that Morris died of an overdose of his sleeping tablets?
I do.
No, it's absurd. Who on earth would have thought of murdering Morris? It's out of the question.
Oh, no. Nurse Wayland can't seriously think that anyone would deliberately give Morris an overdose. But I'm beginning to be desperately afraid that perhaps he took it himself.
Suicide?
Well, he wasn't himself last night. He was very strange. I'd never seen him so upset.
Did he speak of suicide?
No.
What did he say?
Well, really, Nurse Wayland, there are some things I can't tell you. What passed between my husband and myself concerned only ourselves.
I beg your pardon. I only thought it would be better for your own sake to be frank.
What do you mean? Are you accusing me of holding anything back?
I'm not accusing anybody.
My dear, I won't ask you anything that is painful to answer, but there's this. If there is anything in what Nurse Wayland says, I suppose there'll have to be an inquest. The coroner will certainly ask you if your husband said anything at all that might indicate that suicide was in his mind.
Well, he said it would have been better if the accident had killed him outright. But he wasn't thinking of himself, he was thinking of me.
That's very important.
Nurse Wayland, if poor Morris did take an overdose of something, can't you square your conscience to say nothing about it? He had so little to live for. Can't you let him go in peace and spare us the distress of a post-mortem and inquest?
But you see, I don't believe your husband committed suicide.
Why not?
He was sometimes very depressed, and for that reason I didn't think it wise to leave within his reach the means of putting an end to himself. I always kept the tablets well out of his reach.
I never saw him depressed.
I know you didn't. You never saw anything.
Nurse Wayland, what have I done to you? Why do you speak to me like that? Your face is twisted with hate. I don't understand.
Don't you?
Oh. I'm beginning to be frightened of you. What sort of woman have we had in our house for 5 years?
There's nothing to be frightened of, darling. Don't give way to your nerves.
Because he joked and laughed when you were there, did it never occur to you that there were moments when he was overwhelmed by black despair?
But why did he insist on hiding it from me?
His one aim was to make his suffering easy for you to bear. Whatever pain he had, he hid from you so that you should never have the distress of being sorry for him.
How can you say such dreadful things?
Everything he had to be hidden from you. When you were coming, the medicine bottles and the dressings had to be put away so that there should be nothing to remind you that there was anything the matter with him.
I would willingly have done anything for him that you did. It was his most earnest wish that I should not concern myself with that side of his illness.
That's true, nurse. I'm sorry you don't think Stella did all she could for Morris. As his mother, I'm perhaps no less competent than you to judge. I have only admiration for her unselfishness.
Oh, Mother.
I always think we do the best by people when we help them in the way they want to be helped.
There's a lot in that.
I'm sure Stella did Morris most good by answering him back in the same strain when he chaffed her, and when he laughed, laughing with him.
I was nothing, only his paid nurse. He didn't try to hide from me the despair that filled his heart. He didn't have to pretend with me. He didn't have to be good-tempered or amusing with me. He could be morose and know I wouldn't mind. He could quarrel with me and know he couldn't hurt me.
What are you telling us, Nurse Wayland?
I'm telling you the truth at last.
What a strange truth it is.
But, nurse, what you've been saying suggests that in one of his moments of despair, he must have thought of suicide.
It was just one of those moments that I was on guard against. The sleeping tablets were kept in the bathroom on an upper shelf. I had to stand on a chair myself to reach them.
Was it impossible, Dr. Harvester, for Morris to have crossed the room into the bathroom and stood up on a chair?
Quite impossible. He had no power in the lower part of his body. His back was broken in the accident and his spinal cord was injured.
Well, the matter can't be left like this. I'm afraid, Harvester, there'll have to be an inquest.
But confound it, man. No one commits murder without a motive. No one had the smallest reason to wish Morris dead.
How do you know?
Everyone was devoted to him.
Did you know his wife was going to have a baby?
You fiend.
Stella.
I suspected it last night when she nearly fainted. This morning I knew for certain.
Are you accusing me of murdering my husband?
Is it true what she says, Stella?
Shall I keep luncheon back, madam?
Is it 1 o'clock? No. You can serve it.
We can't have lunch now, Mother.
Why not? Lay for 2 extra, Alice. Major Laconda and Dr. Harvester will be lunching.
Very good, madam.
Mother, it's impossible. How can we all sit down as though nothing had happened?
I think it's just as well. We have a great deal more to say to one another. It will do none of us harm to talk of other things for half an hour.
No, I couldn't. Please let me stay here.
I insist on your coming, my dear.
I must go home, Mrs. Tablett. I'll have a bite there and come back immediately.
Very well. Will you come, Nurse Wayland?
No.
I'll have something sent up to your room.
I don't want anything.
You may when it comes.
Lunch is served, madam.
Come, Stella.
You know the Pepsodent you've been using? Pretty good toothpaste, wasn't it? But now there's all new Pepsodent. It's a toothpaste revolution. Get your teeth dazzle white without scratching tooth enamel. All new Pepsodent made with Earlium actually polishes teeth dazzle white. It doesn't scratch.
All new Pepsodent, the greatest toothpaste discovery in your lifetime.
But you don't have to believe that just because we say so. Extensive laboratory tests prove that it's true.
If you'd like to see the results of those tests for yourself, write to Pepsodent, Box 909, Durban, and we'll send you documentary proof
that all new Pepsodent gets teeth dazzle white without scratching tooth enamel.
All new Pepsodent gives you the smile that dazzleizes.
From the fertile fields of the eastern Transvaal come new Flavor Royco's farm fresh vegetable. Plump chickens come from lush Natal. Our beefsteaks are the beefiest, our herbs and spices subtle and delicate. So come home to Royco, made from the freshest and youngest. That's why Royco soups taste the best and cook the quickest in only 7 minutes. New flavor Royco, warm, friendly, satisfying, made with the good things you would choose.
Stella.
Oh, have you finished lunch already?
More or less. Are you all right?
Yes. I'm sorry, I couldn't stay in the dining room.
It was awful sitting there as though nothing had happened. I don't know what induced Mother to make us go through that farce.
I dare say it was sensible. With the servants there, it was obvious that we had to hold our tongues. It gave us all a chance to collect ourselves.
Stella, is it true?
About the baby? Yes, it's true.
Why didn't you tell me?
I didn't want to.
You were going to let me go away without knowing.
I didn't want to spoil your last weeks here. Because I was worried, didn't seem to be any reason why you should be worried, too.
But what were you going to do?
I didn't know. I was desperately trying to find a way out. I thought it would be easier when you were gone. Whatever happened, I wanted to keep you out of it.
But, darling, this is something I must share with you. Surely you realize that.
When a woman tells a man she's going to have his baby, it's important to her. She wants to be made a fuss of. I couldn't expect you to feel joy or pride, only consternation.
Stella, you do realize, don't you, how much I love you?
Don't, Colin. Don't say anything that's going to upset me. I don't want to get emotional. If we've got to talk about it, let's do so as calmly as we can.
What's that dreadful woman going to do now?
Oh, I don't know. I don't care. Oh, no, that's not true. I'm frightened to death. Oh, Colin, what's going to happen to us?
You do love me, Stella, don't you?
Oh, yes. I wish I didn't, but I do.
Oh, lunch already?
Yes.
Forgive me for coming through the French doors, but I walked through the garden.
Mother and Major Laconda will be here in a moment. They're still having coffee.
Nurse Wayland had lunch in her room. Perhaps you'd better fetch her, Colin.
Righto. Won't be a moment.
I hope, my dear, this is going to come out all right.
Doesn't look much like it, does it? Dr. Harvester, will you tell me something?
Yes.
Do you think it possible that Morris could have guessed about the child?
I shouldn't think so.
Oh, I hope not. I couldn't have borne the thought that he died rather than expose me to shame and disgrace. He was capable of that, you know.
My dear, I'm afraid that if Morris died of an overdose, he can't have taken it himself.
But who could have given it to him?
That is the question, isn't it?
Yes, Nurse Wayland.
Oh, yeah, I can hear Mother and the Major.
Well, you're back quickly, Doctor. Have we kept you waiting? I hope you had everything you wanted in your room, Nurse.
Everything, thank you, Mrs. Tabrett.
Well, sit down, everyone. Now, we are in your hands, Nurse Wayland. Have you decided what to do?
Major Laconda asked your daughter-in-law a question before luncheon. She didn't answer it.
I'm afraid you must have thought me very impertinent, Stella. Nurse Wayland said you were going to have a baby, and I asked you if it was true.
It's quite true.
And then another question inevitably rises in one's mind. It's difficult for me to ask it.
I'll answer without your asking. Of course, it's quite impossible that Morris should have been the father of the child I'm expecting. Since his accident, he's been my husband in name only.
I am the father, Major Laconda.
You?
Do you mean to say that it escaped your sharp eyes, Nurse, that Colin and Stella were in love with each other?
Oh, did you know?
Nowadays, I find the young are apt to think their elders even more stupid than advancing years generally make them.
Oh, Mother, what must you think of me?
Do you much care?
I suppose I ought to be terribly ashamed of myself. But I must be honest. I could no more stop falling in love with Colin than I could help the rain falling.
You're shameless.
But you have every right to think that I treated Morris shamefully, Mother. He's beyond the reach of pain, but I bitterly regret the pain I've caused you. I have no excuses to make for myself.
My dear, don't you remember what I said to you last night? I thanked you for all you'd done for Morris. Did you think I was talking at random? I knew then that you were going to have a baby, and that Colin was the father.
I blame myself. Not for loving Stella, but for not going away as soon as I find out.
Whatever you think of me, I ask you to believe that I didn't give myself to Colin to gratify any passing whim. I love him with all my heart.
I know, dear.
I struggled against it. I told myself that the only return I could make Morris for all the devotion he gave me was by remaining faithful to him. I tried to drive Colin away. I did everything except ask him to go. I couldn't do that. And Morris was so pleased to have him here.
Yes, I understand.
I don't understand you, Mrs. Tablet. You seem to be going out of your way to find excuses for your daughter-in-law. If you knew what was going on, why didn't you stop it?
I'm afraid I shall shock you, Nurse Wayland. Stella is young, healthy, and normal. When Morris's accident made it impossible for him and Stella to ever live again as man and wife, I asked myself how long she'd be able to support such a false relationship.
No one could say that you had much trust in human nature.
I have a great deal. I knew that Stella's pity was infinite. I knew that she meant everything in the world to Morris. Everything. But I feared the time would come when she could no longer be content with a miserable life that was all that Morris had to offer her. If she wanted to go, I felt we had no right to prevent her. And I knew that if she went, Morris would die.
I would never have left him, never.
I was willing to shut my eyes to anything, as long as she stayed with Morris. I found myself wishing she'd take a lover.
Mrs. Tablet!
When Colin came back, and after a while I realized that he and Stella are in love, I was glad. I felt that this would make things right for Morris. She wouldn't go now. She was bound to this house by a stronger tie than pity or kindness.
But didn't it strike you what great dangers you were exposing them to?
I didn't care. I thought only of Morris. When they were children, I think I loved both my sons equally. But since his accident, I haven't had room in my heart for anyone but Morris. He was everything to me. For him, I was prepared to sacrifice Colin and Stella. I hope they'll forgive me.
As if there were anything to forgive.
You'll only laugh at me if I say I'm shocked. But I can't help it. I'm shocked to the very depths of my soul.
I was afraid you would be.
Well, with a baby on the way, you must admit that Morris's death has come in the very nick of time to get her out of a very awkward predicament.
What a cruel and heartless thing to say. Are you sure your motive for causing all this trouble is anything more than your bitter hatred of me?
Why should I hate you? Believe me, I only despise
you. You hate me because you were in love with Morris.
How dare you say that?
You gave it away constantly. I could see that you were fonder of Morris than a nurse generally is of her patient. But it didn't strike me as serious until this morning. I know now that you were madly in love with him.
And if I was, what of it?
Nothing. Except that it's my turn to be shocked. In the circumstances, I think it was rather horrible and disgusting.
Yes, I loved him. My love grew as yours faded. I loved him because he was so helpless, so dependent on me. I never showed my love. It would have meant nothing to him. He had no room in his heart for anyone but you. You think you were kind and considerate. If you'd loved him as I did, you'd have seen how less than nothing was all you did for him. I could think of 100 ways to give him happiness, but they would have meant nothing to him. And you, whom he loved, could think of none of them.
Nurse Wayland, I'm sorry for what I said just now. It was stupid of me and unkind. I suppose there is something beautiful in love, of whatever kind it is. Will you let me thank you for the love you gave my husband?
No! It's an impertinence to offer me your thanks.
I'm sorry you should think that.
All you had for him was pity. But I loved him with all my heart. I never asked anything but to be allowed to help and serve him. What was he to you? What was he to his mother? To me, he was my life. And you killed him.
That's a lie.
Come, Nurse Wayland, you have no right to say that.
How dare you stand there and insult Stella? The situation is perplexing.
It's true, and you know it.
I know nothing of the kind. I only know that you've worked yourself into a state in which you are saying all sorts of things for which you have no justification.
My dear, I could no more have killed Morris than I could walk a tightrope. Doesn't it occur to you that there was nothing to prevent my leaving him? Who could have blamed me? I could have gone away with Colin.
Yes, and heaven knows I wanted you.
You'd have been afraid of the scandal. And you knew that your treachery would have broken your husband's heart. You couldn't face that. You preferred to kill him.
After knowing me for 5 years, Nurse Wayland, how can you think me capable of such wickedness?
Your husband loved and trusted you. He was bedridden. He was defenseless. If you were capable of being unfaithful to him, you were capable of killing him.
Are you not falling into a rather vulgar error, my dear? Chastity is a very excellent thing, but it isn't the whole of virtue. There's kindness and courage and consideration.
Are you defending her for having been untrue to your son?
I'm excusing her. I know she gave Morris all she could, and the rest was not within her power.
Oh, my dear, you're so kind and wise.
No, darling. I'm only so old.
Stella, I'm sorry, but Nurse Wayland has made a definite accusation. It must be met. If Morris died of an overdose of sleeping tablets, it was administered by somebody.
It was not given to him by me.
You appear to have been the last person who saw him last night. You said he was upset earlier in the evening. Why?
Oh, must I tell you? It was very private.
No, I've no right to ask you anything, but if there's an inquest, you'll be asked.
But he broke down because he couldn't love me as he wanted to love me. He said he would have so liked us to have a child.
But when you went in to say goodnight to him, he made no further reference to that.
No, none. He seemed quite recovered.
Did he ask you for anything before you went? The sleeping draught, for instance?
No, Major Laconda. Morris did not ask me for the sleeping draught, and I did not give it to him.
May I ask a question now?
Certainly.
Why were you so upset when I came in this morning and told you I'd been into your husband's room?
I was angry with you for going in before he called.
Are you sure you weren't afraid I'd gone in too soon? Supposing he'd been still alive and it had been possible to save him.
You've made up your mind that I murdered Morris, haven't you?
I know you did.
You have done what you thought was your duty, Nurse Wayland. Well and good. It's obvious the matter cannot rest here, and the responsibility is now mine. There is no need for us to take up any more of your time.
I'll go. I'm just as anxious to leave you as you all are to get rid of me. But I can't go, Mrs. Tablett, without saying how sorry I am to have repaid your kindness by bringing this unhappiness upon you. I know you must hate me. It seems frightful, but I do ask you to believe that I can't help myself.
Before we part, my dear, I should like, if I could, to release your spirit from the bitterness that's making you so unhappy. Bless you for the kindness you showed my poor Morris, and for the unselfish love you bore him.
Oh, I'm so desperately unhappy.
Please leave your address, Nurse Wayland. Dr. Harvester will communicate with the proper authorities, and they will want to get in touch with you.
I shall go and see the coroner and put the facts before him. If you don't mind, Mrs. Tablett, I'll ring up his place from here and find out if he's in.
Before you do that, may I say something?
Of course.
I'll try to be brief. Stella is mistaken in thinking that she was the last person who saw Morris alive. I saw him and spoke to him later.
You?
I couldn't sleep last night. There was no light in Morris's room, but I had a strange feeling that he was lying awake too. I opened his door quietly, but he heard me and called me in.
What time was this?
I don't know, perhaps an hour after you left. He told me he'd taken his sleeping draught, but it hadn't had any effect. Then he said, "Mother, be a sport and give me another. It can't hurt for once, and I do want to have a decent sleep."
Yes, he was very nervy last night. I suppose his usual dose wasn't enough.
Very early after his accident, I promised Morris that if life became intolerable to him, I would give him the means of putting an end to it.
Oh, Mother, no.
I said that if his suffering was so great that he couldn't bear them any longer, and he solemnly asked me to help him, I wouldn't shirk the responsibility. And sometimes he'd say, "Does that promise still hold?" And I'd answer, "Yes, dear, it does."
But did he ask you last night?
No.
What happened then?
I knew Stella's love meant everything to Morris, and I knew that she no longer had any to give him because she'd given all her love to Colin. Poor Morris could not stand losing her. But Stella had done as much for him as even I, his mother, could ask of her. I was not so selfish as to demand from her the sacrifice of all that makes a woman's life worthwhile.
Oh, why didn't you give me the chance?
It was a lovely, lovely dream he dreamed, and I loved him too much to let him ever wake from it. For I loved Morris. He was everything to me. I gave him life, and I took life away from him.
Mrs. Tabrett, it's impossible. Oh, how dreadful.
I went into the bathroom and climbed on the chair and got the bottle of chlorelin. I took the 5 tablets and dissolved them in a glass of water. I took it in to Morris, and he drank it at a gulp. Then I sat by the side of his bed, holding his hand until he fell asleep. When I withdrew my hand, I knew it was sleep from which he would never awake. He dreamed his dream to the end.
Oh, Mother. Oh, what will be the end of this? I'm so frightened.
Oh, my dear, don't worry about me. What I did deliberately, and I'm quite ready to face the consequences.
It's my fault. How can I ever forgive myself?
No, you mustn't be silly. You mustn't think about me or distress yourselves at what happens to me. You and Colin must go away, marry, and have your child. And you must forget the past. You're young, and you have a right to life and happiness.
Oh, Mother, darling. Oh, Mother, you make me feel so ashamed.
My son, I love you too. I have your happiness very much at heart.
Oh, my dear, dear Millie, what can I say?
Dr. Harvester, are you still willing to sign the death certificate?
Yes.
Then sign it. If there are ever any questions, I'm prepared to swear that I left the tablets on Morris's table by his bed.
Oh, Nurse Wayland.
We're very grateful to you, Nurse Wayland. So infinitely grateful.
Oh, Mrs. Tabrett, I've been so petty and revengeful. I never realized how mean I was.
Come, my dear. Don't let us get emotional. We're both of us lonely women now. Let us help one another. So long as you and I can keep our love for Morris alive in our hearts, he's not really dead.
Good evening. This is Peter Tobin introducing Lux Radio Theatre. Tonight and every Monday night at this time, Lux Radio Theatre presents for your entertainment the finest in radio drama. This week we bring you A Well-Dressed Man by Frederick Raphael. When John Joseph Jenks was charged with murder, he pleaded as an alibi that he was drinking with a well-dressed man about 5 feet 9 inches tall who answered to the name of Phil. A plea that was to lift Phil Mallard from out of his obscurity as a dispenser for a suburban chemist into the limelight as chief witness for the defense at the Old Bailey. It was to do more. It was to bring together shy, lonely Phil Mallard, whose only real contact with his fellow human beings was a chess-playing opponent in Australia whom he had never seen, and self-confessed gangster, tough, brutal John Jenks in a situation that builds up to a horrifying climax. Frederick Raphael lives up to his worldwide reputation as novelist and film scenario writer with the brilliance of his character portrayals and his ability to create a climax that will astonish you despite its seeming inevitability. Listen in a few moments to A Well-Dressed Man, adapted and produced for Lux Radio Theatre by Michael Silver.
Wherever...
Now, Act 1 of tonight's Lux Radio Theatre presentation, A Well-Dressed Man.
Here's your prescription already made up, Mrs. Louise.
Thank you. I see you've got a new radio set.
Yes, one of these new kind of transistors. Here.
The solicitors acting for John Joseph Jenks are particularly anxious to contact a man Jenks says he met in a public house in Putney on the evening of the murder. The man was well-dressed, about 5 feet 9 inches tall, and is said to answer to the name of Phil.
Yes, nothing but murders and murder trials. Well, good day to you, Mrs. Louise.
Good day.
Oh, excuse me. Good morning, Mr. Laban.
Good morning.
I fear I'm a couple of minutes late. There was a queue outside the football ground. I had some difficulty in getting through. One gets punched about.
Well, you don't look as if you've suffered any damage.
Oh, no, not at all. Forgive me asking, Mr. Laban, but was there any post by any chance?
Have you been applying for jobs again?
It isn't that. I mean, I shouldn't like you to think that I
Mr.
would...
Mallard, how many times have we been over this ground during the last, 10 years?
It isn't a reflection on...
I know, Mr. Mallard, I know. I quite appreciate your motives. I've often felt much the same myself. One doesn't enjoy being in a backwater.
No, one doesn't.
But quite frankly, wouldn't you do better to reconcile yourself?
Reconcile myself?
No one's going to take up the references of a not very young dispenser working for a not very successful branch of a not very famous firm of suburban chemists. Now, really, are they? Mr. Mallard, wouldn't it be wiser, I speak now as one who has been your colleague for a period of years, would it not be wiser to accept the situation and not waste your threepences on stamped addressed envelopes which never get used?
You don't think I'm the man they're after?
Frankly, no. I don't think you're the man they're after.
The thing is,
you feel that you're wasting yourself. I know, Mr. Mallard. I had a picture of yourself discovering a cure for some rare disease and receiving the homage of a grateful nation. We all did, Mr. Mallard. Saving someone's life and basking forever in the sunshine of his gratitude. We're most of us driven to take up our careers with the idea of performing some magnificent service to others, and we stay in them because by the time we discover what drudgery they are, we're too set to move.
There wasn't any post, I take it.
There was not.
Morning, Mr. Laybourne.
Oh, good morning.
Packhurst.
Paris Cosmetic Preparations. How are things? Well, I thought I'd just give you a look in. We've got our new skin enhancer, the one we're having the big success with. The one with even spread dispensing actions. You haven't...
Yes. Oh, excuse me, I just... your newspaper caught my eye.
Keep it. Please, do have it. I've done with it, please.
Oh, thank you. It was just that...
Well-dressed man, that business. Don't believe in him, do you? If your police arrest someone, they've generally got a reason. You don't often get the police making a mistake. Now, 2 sizes these come in. The 5 and 9 tube and 10 and 3 the handy can with the luxury diffuser. Yeah, well-dressed man. Obvious red-heading.
He might turn up. You never know.
You think so?
Looking for something, Mr. Mallard?
No.
Oh, smell it a mile off. The red-heading, I mean. Smell it a mile off.
Well, I'll take 6 and 6. That's 6 big and 6 small.
6 and 6. Very much obliged to you, Mr. Laybourne. They always have some sort of red-heading, the defence does. Their job, though, isn't it? He doesn't exist, you can be sure of that. Well-dressed man. Answers to the name of Phil. Could be anyone.
Well,
I must depart. Good morning to you, Mr. Laybourne, and many thanks. Next Friday week, if that's convenient.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Yes?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can I help you?
Don't you recognize me, Vivian?
Philip! Oh, good gracious me, no, I did not at first. Well, how are you?
I'm all right.
Are you going to come in?
Thank you. I wondered if you might...
We are expecting people in a little while, but...
I just wanted a word with Basil, if I might. I'm sorry if it's a bad time.
Oh, well, it's always a bad time these days, I'm afraid. Life's one long rush. People, and more people. If it isn't American editors, it's local flower shows, you can imagine.
Yes.
Well, I'll go and see if Basil's about here.
Thank you.
That's about it, I think. The usual piece about inquiries for stamped addressed envelopes, Brigade.
Sorry to disturb you, darling, only, Philip's here.
Philip?
Your brother.
Philip? What's he want?
Well, he didn't say. He wants to see you, that's all.
I suppose someone must have died or something. Oh, dear. Oh, well. Olive, call Dennis Thingamabob. Tell him I'd love to lunch on Friday. Oh, and get hold of that man from Vacation Magazine. Tell him I'm on for the Chateau country and how many words do you want and when. Oh, and call the Maison Provençale. Tell them I want a table for 8 for tomorrow and make sure they know who we are. I don't want limp game, chips and Empire cough mixture at 22 and a head, all right?
Yes, Mr. Mallard.
Philip. Yeah. Oh, Philip, my dear old boy, this is a surprise.
I'm sorry, I seem to have come at a bad moment.
Well, you weren't now. Oh, what have you got there?
Oh, only this... It's your scrapbook. I was...
Oh, one of our scrapbooks, have you? Silly, really, keeping all that nonsense.
Very impressive.
Well, it's a living. You're looking as spruce as ever, Philip. How are things?
Still the same.
Time you found yourself a wife.
I shall never do that, I don't suppose. Not now.
Well, I'm going back upstairs to finish getting ready. Do excuse me, Philip, will you?
Of course. It was nice to see you again.
Oh, lovely to see you. Oh, Basil, the caterer, will be here in half an hour, darling. He knows where everything is if you let him in.
I will.
You've done more for her than I ever could have.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, yes. She's not like the girl I used to know, not now.
They all changed.
You've been very successful.
We've worked hard, you know.
Oh, yes, I know. You always did. Mother always had faith in you. Said you'd be someone.
Oh, one has to take one's opportunities. I was lucky, that's all. Well, it has been a long time, hmm?
Yes. We haven't met since the funeral. Mother's.
Poor Mum. No, we have. Never fault you on a date, eh, Philip?
No.
You're still in Hilton, eh?
I am. This is a nice place.
Nice enough, terribly cramped, of course. Luckily, we get about a good deal, or we should feel like birds in a gilded cage, all dressed up and nowhere to stretch out. Hmm?
Yes. I gather you're abroad a good deal.
Well, we have to be. Needs must when the bank manager drives. Oh, well, Philip, is there something? I mean, What can I...
I want your advice.
Problem?
Yes, sir. I have rather...
Well?
No, I'm in rather a quandary.
Quandary? What kind? Need money?
No. It's just that I rather think I'm the missing Phil.
The missing Phil?
The man they're looking for.
I mean, you've done something.
Haven't you seen the paper? It's been all over the paper about this murder.
Murder?
They're looking for a man called Phil.
No one's ever called you Phil, have they?
Yes. And unless I come forward, they'll hang him. Looks as if they'll hang him unless I...
Hang who?
This man, Jenks, they've accused of the Hammer murder. Unless I tell them he was with me.
With you?
Yes. You see how important I may be. How important.
You say you were with him. Where was this?
In the pub in Putney. Sometimes I go out. I go out to pubs. It's allowed.
And you met this chap they...
want to hang. Yes, I think I did.
Strange company for you, Philip. A man like that. You're positive.
I'm not like you, Basil. I didn't have your advantages. I didn't go to university. I don't have famous friends. I take my company when I can find it.
Why exactly have you come here, Philip?
To get your reaction.
To what exactly?
My problem, of course. What should I do? I must do it, mustn't I? Come forward. I mean, I don't want to, heaven knows, but...
You'll get the most appalling amount of publicity.
Exactly.
Newspapers, interviews, all that sort of thing. I can't see you enjoying the experience. It's enough to unnerve the strongest of us.
But if I'm the only person who can save him, the only person who can help him, surely...
I dare say they'll come down on us like a ton of vultures as well. The very fact that I've even got a brother at all will be enough to start the gossip boys sharpening their poison arrows. The police seem pretty sure he did it.
They are. That's why
They must have their reasons. Well, I'm only thinking of you, Philip. The important thing is not to look foolish. I mean, if you were to come forward and then be proved mistaken, we should all... Well, you'll be made a fool of, that's all, and we should all regret it. Tell me, since when do people call you Phil? I never called you Phil, nor did Mother.
My other friend does. The one I play chess with in Australia.
The one you...
We play chess by correspondence. He calls me Phil. That's what started it.
Well, I don't really feel I've been much help.
The thing is, I might be very important.
Yes, I can see that. Well, perhaps you should go and see somebody connected with the case. Have a word with them.
Yes. Well, thank you, Basil. Sorry if I've disturbed you.
Not at all. Not at all.
The prisoner knew, and you may think was in an excellent position for knowing, that Mr. Hammond was in possession of substantial sums each Friday night when the takings from the garage which he owned and where Jenks had sought employment were put in a safe to be taken to the bank on the Saturday. Jenks, in the view of the prosecution, returned to his place of work, knowing Hammond would be there, and stole up behind him, intending to strike him down and take the money. Hammond suspected something, turned and resisted, and was then callously struck repeated and terrible blows on the head, as a result of which he shortly died. Jenks took the money and went on his way. He was not seen again until he was arrested in Belfast. There, he claimed first that his name was O'Shea, and afterwards that though he was Jenks, he knew nothing of the murder and had simply decided to leave the garage. Later still, he said he knew of the murder and said he feared he would be charged with it. Now, we have heard of an alibi. The defense claims, as claim it clearly must to have any hope of success, that Jenks was elsewhere on the night of the murder. Just what this story adds up to, or whether indeed it will be continued with at all, we shall see presently. Meanwhile, I shall, with my Lord's permission, call the first witness, Alfred Dean Oliver.
I said they wouldn't find him, didn't I? And for why? Because there isn't such a bloke. He'll swing all right.
Maybe.
Oh, no question. Now, they tell me, how'd you get on with the two-tones? Do well, did they?
Clearing slowly.
They'll come back for more, that I can promise you. A dozen?
Half. Make it half.
Half this week, fair enough. I'll bet you the other half dozen Jinx is in the condemned cell come Wednesday next.
Fair enough.
Central 0181. I think I can help you. My name's Phil Mallard. That's right, Phil.
Now, will you tell the jury and my lord in your own words what you did that evening?
I got home from work about 6:30. Then after supper, as it was a fine evening, I decided to go out. I walked for a while, and then I caught a bus. Eventually, I found myself by the river, and I walked along from Putney Bridge towards Richmond, that direction. I went into a pub after a while because I felt thirsty. It was quite warm. I ordered my drink. It was a shandy, actually, with lemonade. They hadn't any ginger, and I sat down, and there was a small table on the terrace, so I sat there. We were watching some scullers.
We?
The people out there. The river was very calm. One of the scullers had been exerting himself more than most, and he dived into the river. We all laughed. And that's when we began to talk. He and I. I used to scull myself at one time. He said he was keen on sport, too. We had some more to drink, socially, as it were, and we talked. Reminisced, you might say. We went on talking till the pub closed, and then we walked to the bus stop, and I caught my bus.
And you're sure that that was the man with whom you spent the evening?
Positive. Yes.
You've left it pretty late in the day, Mr. Mallard. Well, haven't you left it pretty late in the day?
I suppose so.
You suppose so? Why did you not come forward before?
I was afraid to.
Well, of what were you afraid?
I don't know. Notoriety?
Notoriety?
Being asked a lot of questions.
Well, I'm afraid your fears in that respect were more than justified. I shall indeed be asking you a lot of questions. Now, you say you are absolutely convinced, without the remotest possibility of doubt, that that was the man with whom you spent the evening of the 3rd of August last?
I am.
Had you ever met him before?
Never.
Have you ever met him since?
I have not.
Mr. Mallard, have you seen photographs of the accused in your newspaper at all?
Yes, I have done.
You have done? On how many occasions?
A couple or so.
You've seen photographs of the accused more often than you've seen the accused himself.
That's true. Only
one thing at a time, Mr. Mallard, if you don't mind. Now, let us go back to this famous evening. What made you go to Putney that evening? You live some distance from that place. Why did you go there?
I was born there. I sometimes go back.
To see people? Relatives?
No, I just go there. I don't know anyone.
A sentimental journey,
if you like.
Now, you say you sat on the terrace. It was quite shady under there, I dare say?
Oh, yes, it was shady.
Yes, and you were looking out at the bright river, the reflection of the setting sun. Quite dazzling, I dare say.
I don't think so.
What did you talk about?
Birds was one thing.
Birds, did you? What sort of birds?
I like to feed them. I put crumbs on my sill. He likes birds, too.
Oh, indeed. And what sort of birds does he like?
He flew pigeons at one time.
Where did you read about that?
Nowhere.
Do you swear you never read that Jinx was a pigeon fancier?
I shouldn't be surprised. I may have. Afterwards, since, I mean.
Mr. Mallard, How many times have you visited Putney during the last year?
A few.
A few. 3 times? 13 times? 30 times?
5 or 6 times.
5 or 6 times. Can you give us the dates?
Dates?
Dates, that's right, dates. The dates on which you made these sentimental journeys.
I don't know. Last year I went once in October, I think it was. Again in November and Christmas time.
I want the dates, the exact dates, Mr. Mallard. What day in October?
Well, I'm not sure if it was October. It might have been the last week in September or the first in November.
Or the second in July, perhaps.
No, I
don't know, do you, Mr. Mallard?
Well, I can't swear.
You can't swear, quite so. You can't swear. But you have sworn. You have sworn, Mr. Mallard. You've sworn that it was August the 3rd that you visited Putney and saw the accused in the dim light of a public house terrace and found the experience and the date so unforgettable that you have not the tiniest doubt about them. Yet you can give us no other dates, Mr. Mallard? Truthfully, can you stand there and tell us you have no doubt about it having been the 3rd of August? Really?
Oh, yes. You see...
Thank you, Mr. Mallard.
It was my birthday, you see. I don't forget my birthday.
It's here.
Philip. Paper's full of him. If he goes on at this rate, they'll be holding over my column to make room for pictures of him.
Oh, grisly notion.
I had lunch with Dennis about this TV series, and all they could do was talk about Philip.
He'll make us famous yet.
Making such a fool of himself.
And us.
Needless to say, and us. Do you know, one of the people at lunch actually wanted to meet him.
Meet him? What for?
They thought he sounded interesting. Interesting. Philip.
Basil, do you think he's going to get that man off?
Oh, I don't know. If he's telling the truth, well, after all, why should he make it up? Philip, of all people, why should he?
You may well think that Mr. Mallard is the most important person in this case. No one could occupy a more crucial position than he does. For if you believe his evidence, the whole case for the prosecution must fall to the ground. Jenks, even if he were equipped with the fastest motor car, could not possibly have been with Mr. Mallard and committed the murder. You've heard ample evidence on that score. Many things are possible, but one cannot be in Putney and in Hornsey at the same time. Either Mr. Mallard has wrongly identified the accused, or the accused must be acquitted. You've seen Mr. Mallard, and you must come to your own conclusions. Does he seem the kind of man who would claim notoriety? Is he the kind likely to suffer from hallucination or self-delusion? Is he the victim of a simple mistake? Or again, is he telling the truth? You may well ask yourself what possible motive he'd have in fabricating the story he has told us. Mr. Mallard is the only person who can claim to have seen the accused at the time of the murder. The evidence against Jenks is, you may think, very strong, but it's also very circumstantial. Against it, you must place the evidence of Mr. Mallard. It's as simple, members of the jury, and as difficult as that. I can give no direction to you on this matter. It is you, and you alone, who must decide. Members of the jury, are you agreed on your verdict?
We are.
Do you find the prisoner guilty or not guilty of the crime with which he is charged?
We find him not guilty.
And is that the verdict of you all?
It is.
I order that the accused, John Joseph Jenks, be discharged forthwith.
Well, Inspector, there it is.
I'll never believe he didn't do it.
No, there's nothing we can do now.
No, true.
What about this man, Mallard? What do you make of it?
Cracked. Must have been.
It didn't seem cracked.
Well, let's hope we manage to pin something on Jenks before he goes and does it again.
Well, that's your business, Dwyer.
That's right.
Yes?
Hello, friend.
Mr. Jenks,
Mind if I come in?
No. But yes, do. You'll find the place in a bit of a muddle, I'm afraid.
Well, I must say I never thought you'd do what you did. I never expected it. Quite a turn-up, really, that was, you coming forward. I like 2 spoonsful of that coffee, if you don't mind.
Oh, yes, certainly. Well, I had to. I could never have borne it if they'd found you guilty and if they'd...
Hang me? They would have too, you bet. Should have seen old Dwyer's face when I come out of court. Should have seen his face, old Dwyer.
What?
The inspector on the case. Livid. Livid.
Oh.
You are? Yes, well, I had to come and thank you. I mean, in the circs, it was the least I could do, wasn't it?
Very nice of you.
Very nice of you, come to that.
It's nothing.
Nothing? Save me blooming neck, no fooling. No, I had to express my gratitude to you, didn't I? I mean, saving the life of a complete stranger like that. I mean, that deserves gratitude, that does, doesn't it?
It was a pleasure.
Pleasure, was it? Oh, that's nice. You, live alone then, here, do you?
Yes, I do.
Very interesting, that is. Yeah, very interesting. All alone, do you?
That's right.
Wife dead, then, is she?
I never had a wife.
Don't worry, you haven't missed anything. Very interesting, though, that is. Never had a wife. You, not like them?
She married someone else.
Did she? Oh, I see. Never had the urge since then, haven't you?
No. Coffee all right? If you want some more sugar...
Yeah, do with a spot, thanks. Yeah, sweet tooth, me. Well, all alone, are you? Nice place you got. All the amenities, very nice.
It's simple, but...
Yeah, simple. You should see some of the places I've kept in. Luxurious, this is. No, I never realized you had a place like this. Never intruded if I'd known.
It's perfectly all right.
No, I mean that night in the pub when we was watching the river and all that. I'd never have intruded myself if I'd known what sort of bloke you were. I had to come and thank you, give you my gratitude, didn't I?
It's very nice of you. I'm glad you came.
Lonely here, I dare say. Eh? All by yourself. Never been married. Well. Your birthday, was it?
On the
3rd of August. That's your birthday, is it?
Yeah, 3rd of August.
How old are you then?
45.
Are you really? 45, eh? That's very interesting, that is. Got any biscuits, have you?
Biscuits?
I could do with something to eat, matter of fact.
I see.
Makes you peckish being tried for murder, it does. Nervous tension, think it must be, yes. Hanging about, you know. Yes.
I've got some digestives and some cheese if you'd like it.
Well, that'll do. Yeah, you should have seen old Dwyer's face. Funny people coppers are. Never let you off the hook. You know that? Oh, I don't suppose you would, respectable bloke like you, but they never let you off the hook.
I've cut the ride off.
Furious. Yeah. It's like old times, this is, eh? You and me, eh?
Yeah, yes,
Go round to my digs, the place I used to live. You'll find one of them there.
One of them?
You'll find a copper hanging round the door, waiting, hoping I'll do something else. Very interesting, that is, about coppers. One-track minds.
What will you do now?
Do?
Now the case is over. Where will you go?
Well, I don't know. I hadn't thought. Nice place you've got here.
There's not really too much room.
They don't know me around here. That's the thing. The busies don't know me. I'm not known. I can lead my own life. I can't go back to Hornsey. They'll hand me. Certain to. One-track mind. That's why I thought I'll look that bloke up.
Really?
See if he can help me. No, I think it's very luxurious. I mean, you've got all the amenities, haven't you? Fancy you remembering me. That's what gets me. Really recognise my face, did you?
Yes, of course.
Amazing, that is. What's your racket, then? What do you do for a living?
I work in a chemist.
Oh, chemist, you? Very interesting. Big one?
Reasonable one. Not large.
Reasonable size?
That's right.
Yes.
I have to be at work quite early in the morning. I have to get to bed quite early. Otherwise, I can't do my work.
Incapacitated. Quite. Don't mind me. I mean, if you want to kip, don't mind me. Whenever you want to, I mean, just, you know. Hey, play chess, do you?
If you don't mind...
Or something wrong?
No, don't touch those chess pieces if you don't mind.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I do apologise. Important, then, that is it?
It's an unfinished game.
Well, why don't you finish it?
My opponent's in Australia.
Ah. Why?
Well, he lives there. He sends me his moves, and I send him mine.
I see. Couldn't you find no one nearer, then?
I don't happen to have done so.
Ah.
I suppose...
What?
You're not a chess player?
Nah. I used to play solo, but not anymore. In Australia, is he? Right, Stu?
Yes. We managed to exchange moves once a fortnight.
Do you really? Very interesting, that is. Once a fortnight, do you?
Sometimes less, sometimes
more. Oh, I know. Do you really? You're cracked, aren't you?
I'm sorry?
Cracked. Nutcase, aren't you?
I think perhaps...
Bombed, aren't you?
It'd be better if you...
Playing chess with a bloke in Australia. Popping up out of the blue at the Bailey.
It was nice of you to come round, and now, if you don't mind, I'm going to bed.
I'm not stopping you.
I'd be very glad if... Would you care to come round again, have some coffee?
I mean, you really deserve to be locked up, you do, don't you? Playing chess with a bloke in Australia. Fantastic, that is. I mean, just imagine if old Muckface had got that out of you. Would I be wrong in thinking that you played chess with a man in Australia? I mean, all he had to do was ask you a question like that, and I'd be playing drafts for the Death Watch. I mean, straight. You're a pretty rum bloke, you are.
You think so?
Dead rum. Oh, never mind. This is a nice place, I must say. All the amenities, haven't you? I mean...
You must come again.
Short of company, then, are you? Lonely?
It can be.
Just think of being in the condemned cell, like... I should think that is lonely and all.
Yes.
People around you all the time there, though. Lonely.
I suppose it would be.
I mean, watching you. Horrible that must be.
Quite.
Nerve-wracking that must be, I should think. Well, you got me out of that all right then, friend, didn't you? I mean, you looked after me, didn't you? Saw me all right then, didn't you?
Oh, it was nothing.
No, I suppose not. Got your name in the papers?
Yes. Both of us did.
Both of us did, you're right there. You got something there, all right. Famous we are.
It's all over now.
For them it is, but not for us. I mean, we're a famous pair, you and I. I mean, you've got your cuttings, haven't you? Got your scrapbook there, I see. Been pasting some new ones in, I see.
Oh, stupid. I ought to get rid of them. It was stupid of me.
No. I differ there. I don't think so. A man's entitled to his cuttings. That's an old story, that is. I got mine all right.
Oh.
There we are. Got mine here, all there. Got more than you, too.
Naturally.
Naturally, as you say. I mean, you didn't come in till late, did you? Sitting on the terrace watching the river, did you?
No.
Oh, that's a nice scrapbook, that is. How much that set you back then?
16 and 6.
16 and 6, did it really? Get me one, can you?
Well, you can get one.
Why, don't like to show me face?
They're on sale in the stationers.
It's the busies I'm worried about. As soon as they know where I am, I shan't be able to call me life me own. Like being under the death watch it'd be, promise you. One-track minds.
Next time you come, I'll have one for you.
You see? They never give you a second chance, the busies don't. Get their tabs on you, you might as well take a running jump in the Grand Union Canal. I mean, I can't show me face, that's the truth. You know what I mean, don't you, Fred?
Well, yes.
No, I mean, this is a lovely place. This is your nice place you got here. I mean, if I can lie low here for a bit, all the amenities, haven't you? Well, I can get a second chance, like.
Lie low?
Look, you got me into this.
I?
You get me off, didn't you? Don't deny that, do you? If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be on the loose, would I?
But you can go anywhere. You were acquitted. You can go anywhere.
You should have seen Dwyer then. Livid, furious he was. I got to be somewhere out of harm's way. I mean, you got me into this, didn't you? Meeting me in the pub, like you said. I mean, it's your fault I'm here. It's not anyone else's fault, is it?
You're welcome to stay tonight if you want to.
I've got no choice. No alternative, friend. I mean, that's straight. I'll be perfectly straight with you over this.
If you don't mind the sofa.
Oh, not tonight, no. That'd do very nicely. I'm surprised you don't have a spare bed, though, for visitors. People who come to stay. I'm prepared, ain't you?
I don't know people.
No?
You're going to have a rug and a pillow, if you like. Make yourself comfortable on the sofa. Yeah. All right?
That looks very cosy. Very homey, that does.
I'm afraid it's rather makeshift.
Makeshift? Educated, are you, aren't you? Educated bloke.
I went to school. I didn't go to university. My brother...
Educated bloke, thought you were.
There we are. I go to work about 8:15 and I have to catch my bus.
Right, oh, right, you are 8:15.
I have to be out of here.
I'm with you.
Well, I'll leave you.
Okay, Phil. Good night, Phil.
You are now listening to Drive, the hungry detergent. Only Drive, the new kind of washing powder, has Ensolve, the professional stain remover. That's why Drive with Ensolve eats stains like baby food, tomato sauce, egg, chocolate. Yet it's so gentle with fabric, so kind to colors. Just soak overnight in new Drive and stains vanish. Then wash in new Drive for astounding results. New Drive eats stains. Gets your whole wash so clean, it's spotless.
Now available throughout the Transvaal.
It's here, new Dual.
Yes, Dual is the new floor cleaner that really deserves to be called revolutionary. Because Dual actually cleans and polishes your floors all in one go.
Dual is an entirely new floor cleaner that has its own built-in floor polish as well. Dual saves you hours of work.
With Dual, you get all your washable floors spotlessly clean. And you get a magnificent, hard, non-slip, dirt-resisting shine. All in one go.
And the more you clean with Dual, the more brilliantly your floors shine.
Get new Dual right away. It's the revolutionary new floor cleaner that cleans and polishes all in one go.
Remember, it's Dual. D-U-A-L, Dual.
Basil Mallard.
Oh, Mr. Mallard, sorry to disturb you. My news editor asked me to get hold of you. I hope it's not a bad moment.
Oh, not at all. What can I do for you?
Well, we were just wondering if you were having a celebration at all this evening.
Celebration?
That is the Mr. Mallard, isn't it, speaking?
I hope so.
Mr. Mallard who gave evidence in the trial.
No, that's my brother.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I'm so sorry. I asked them to get me... They must have got me the wrong one. Would you have your brother's number at all?
No, I'm afraid not.
Jenks? Mr. Jenks! It's breakfast, Mr. Jenks.
Eh? What? Oh, how is you? Never jog me, Phil. That's a jog. I don't like to be jogged.
Breakfast is ready.
Breakfast, is it? Ah, you woke me up. I was dreaming. You woke me up.
We've got to be out of here in a quarter of an hour.
We have to be out of here? I can't get out on the street 8:30 in the morning. What would I do at 8:30 in the morning out on the street?
But aren't you going to look for work?
They think they wouldn't get on my tail, the coppers? Think they wouldn't? Oh, I wouldn't have a chance. Nah, best thing I can do is lay up for a week or two.
We could go and look for something suitable somewhere.
Hopeless, hopeless. I told you, friend, I go out of that door and down into the street, and where am I?
Hillston High Street, north side.
I'm in trouble right away. I told you I don't know how many times they'll hound me. But oh, give us a break.
What do you want to do?
Stop here a day or two. Pals, aren't we, Phil? You and me? I'm your best friend, I am, remember? The sun on the water and all that, remember? We're pals. You don't want to let a pal down, do you?
No, but...
Of course you don't. Not made like that, are you? What am I, Phil?
I don't...
What am I? Who am I? John Joseph Jinks. And I'm an innocent man, aren't I?
Yes, sir.
Yes, exactly so. Now, you got me into this, and I came round here to express my gratitude, right?
Yes, I'm very grateful.
And show how grateful you are, friend, and help me out for a day or two, okay?
I must go to work. I shall be late.
You never want to be late. You want to be punctual. That's good, that is. Punctuality is. That's a virtue. You run along.
Now, please, don't...
What?
Don't touch this. Move anything. Any of the chessmen.
Righto, if you say so. Right you are. Oh, by the way, might bring some smokes when you get back tonight. I'm right ahead. Haven't got any, have you?
No, I don't smoke.
Sensible bloke. Don't forget, will you? And the scrapbook, Fred. Cheers.
Inspector Dwyer here, Doyle. Any sign of Master Jenks? I see. Has he indeed? Well, in my experience, people don't vanish, Doyle. I want tabs on him. Now, let me know as soon as you hear anything. He must be somewhere. He can't have vanished into thin air.
Don't...
Oh, sorry.
Bang too hard, will you?
Oh, don't worry. I can handle an hammer. I was just putting a couple of nails in this picture. You and me coming out of the Bailey. Good, isn't it? I thought we should put it up. Memento. Got the book, have you? The scrapbook?
I managed to get this.
Ah. Flimsy, isn't it? Flimsy, that is. Unsubstantial.
Well, it was all they had.
All they had. Go on.
The shops were closing. It wasn't proper stationers.
All they had. You want to watch it?
It was a general store's on the corner.
On that corner. You want to watch it? You telling the truth, are you?
I couldn't get anything else. It'll have to do.
Have to do? What do you mean?
See if you ate the baked beans.
That's right. Only one they had. I don't believe you.
Both tins.
Well, I got hungry. I was hungry.
You had no business to eat both of tins.
You're changing the subject, you are, aren't you? You're not telling the truth, are you?
What?
About the scrapbook. You're not, are you?
It's the only one they had.
If you and me are going to be friends, if we're going to stay friends, you're going to have to learn to tell the truth. I mean, I can't stand fibs. You're a liar, aren't you?
If you can't be polite, well, you just have to...
No, I mean, you're what they call a liar. I mean, a real liar, aren't you?
Please don't...
I mean to say, you're a case, aren't you? What they call a case you are. Bonked, I mean, aren't you? No, straight.
If you've had supper...
I'll tell you something if you like.
Yes?
I've had an offer.
Offer?
That's right. Bloke I met in a pub made me an offer.
What are you trying to...
I'm not kidding you. He did. What's for supper, then?
You ate both tins of baked beans, both.
Well, it was parky-like, you know.
You'll have to have cornflakes.
That's breakfast food, really, isn't it? Cornflakes.
That's all there is.
All right, then. Only what do we have for breakfast?
Toast.
He did. Made me an offer. Why do you tell lies?
It was the only one they had.
I can't trust you, Phil. That's the truth. I can't trust you. Can't believe a word you say. It's awkward, that is. I mean, I've got no basis of trust. 1,000 quid straight. 1,000 pounds. This bloke offered me.
What for?
My story. After the trial, this was. After you sprung me like. Then in a pub afterwards, 1,000 quid.
Why did you refuse?
I didn't. I said I'd think about it. Consider it. Said I would. I've got his number, you know, for when I decide.
What story exactly?
Not every day a bloke gives up 1,000 quid. Sunday paper. Doesn't happen every day. I mean, a chance like that, to have my own column, like. Sort of thing you dream about, isn't it? Having your own column. I saw a picture once. Bloke had his own column.
My brother...
What's that? Oh, what's he done?
My brother has his own column in a newspaper.
Does he really? Oh, it's very interesting, that is. Make a lot of money then, does he? Got a nice house and all that business?
Oh, yes, indeed.
All the amenities plus?
It's very elegant.
That's the word. Luxurious, am I right?
Yes. He's done very well. He's got everything. Travels a lot, everything.
I like to see the house where he lives, your brother. Elegant, I expect. Away a lot. 1,000 quid I could have made. That's a lot of money, isn't it? Your brother make that much for his articles?
I don't know.
Well known, is he?
Quite.
Well known as Godfrey Wynne?
I don't know. Dare say.
Very interesting, that is. Well known as Godfrey Wynne. No, I'd like to see the house.
I think they've moved from where they were. I fancy they've moved.
You find the address, Phil, eh? I don't know that I believe you about them moving. I don't know if I can trust you. Terrible thing, you know, living with someone you can't trust. 5 years you could get.
Oh, Inspector Dyer. Oh, certainly. Mr. Mallard isn't here at the moment, I'm afraid. He stepped out for something. But I'll tell him you called. Oh, yes, I quite understand. Perfectly all right.
I'm sorry, but you have to leave here.
Don't start.
To the police.
What about the police? What have they been up to?
Here, have you... I haven't done anything. Only they called at the shop this morning where I work. They wanted me to call them up. I haven't yet, but...
You're not uttering threats.
Uttering threats?
Threatening me. You're not, are you?
They're suspicious, that's all.
You tell them where
I haven't spoken to them at all yet. I was out getting some supplies. I wasn't in.
Oh, that's all right then, isn't it? If they didn't talk to you.
Well, from what Mr. Laban told me, they were very suspicious. There's been a break-in and they're suspicious.
Break-in?
The tobacconist's store bashed in.
Oh, yeah.
2 nights ago.
You don't say. Want a fag?
No, I don't, thanks.
Got some cash, you said, have you?
I'll give you money. Yes, cash. I've got a bit.
Haven't made a note of the numbers or anything, have you? Haven't been educated about it or anything?
Here we are. They're all odd ones. I haven't even looked at them.
Here. This is all on the up and up, I suppose. I mean, knowing what a liar you are, I wouldn't put it past you to be putting the wind up me. I mean, ones isn't much use these days now. I don't suppose your brother even uses ones, not nowadays. 5ers or nothing. Expect he's got drawers full, eh? Small change once is hard to a bloke like your brother.
Keeps all his money in the bank. Never has any in the house. I promise you.
Found the address, have you?
There's nothing there, I tell you. You must get out of here.
Dwyer, was it?
You can get down to the bus station very easily. You could be in Manchester tonight.
What do I want to be in Manchester for? What am I supposed to do in Manchester? A new life couldn't I have in Manchester?
Yes.
Got a suitcase?
Suitcase?
Under your bed?
Oh, yes.
Only pyjamas?
I'll give you a pair.
Suspicious, Dwyer, was he?
Well...
I thought you didn't speak to him.
I was going to say... Mr. Laban said... he
had a toothbrush. Must have a toothbrush. He sounded...
businesslike.
Would do.
That's why I thought he might come round, might call.
This isn't a trick of yours, is it? One of your lies?
No.
You won't tell him, will you, when I've gone?
He won't even know you've been here.
Get the case. Come on. Thanks, Fred.
Good luck. Turn right at the bottom, and you're at the terminal.
I'll say cheerio, then. Cheerio. Looks like it's too late. I better get back into the bedroom. Only watch it. So much as one word and I'll be on you.
Mr. Mallard, may I have a word? Inspector Dwyer.
Of course. Come in.
I hope I haven't come at a bad moment.
What can I do for you?
You seen anything of your friend, Jenks, at all?
Jenks? No, nothing. Why? Has he been in some sort of trouble?
No. We've rather lost touch with Master Jenks, that's all. He must be keeping out of harm's way somewhere.
What about this robbery at the tobacconist's? I suppose you were thinking...
Was I? Jenks? No, I don't think so. No one was cursed, for one thing. He makes a habit of violence, Jenks does.
Does he?
As long as he keeps his nose clean, we can't touch him. Only I'd like to know where he is. Goodbye, Mr. Mallard.
You're a clever little lying swine, aren't you? Dwyer hadn't got a clue. Even when you're trying to tip him off, he hadn't got a clue. Can't trust you an inch, can I? You're a shocker, you are, you know, shocker. Nearly had me in Manchester, didn't you? Shocking. Clever, I must say. Tricky. Educated, I must say, the way you done it. Now, what about your brother's address, your brother?
Has there been any post today?
Post?
Letters.
Expecting a letter, are you?
Yes.
Oh, yes, from Australia.
Yes, has it come? Where is it?
Steady, steady.
And where is it? I want it. What have you done with it?
I picked it up. You didn't want it trampled on, did you? Walked on, did you?
Now, please give it to me. Well, come on, give it to me.
Watch it, watch it.
Ow!
Don't start roughhousing with me, son. Don't start roughhousing, I wouldn't.
Oh, I want my letter.
Yes.
You killed him. You killed him. Murderer, you're a murderer. You killed that man. That's what you did. You killed him.
Shut up.
Oh, you killed him.
I told you to shut up. Now shut up.
Why did I?
Why did you? I don't know. Why did you?
Because I thought.
Give the needle a shove.
I thought you needed someone. I thought there was someone you needed them, and they failed you. I don't know.
Remember where they went to? The chessmen here?
Of course.
You are bombed straight. See what I mean, don't you? I could get 1,000 quid any time I wanted, just like that. Stop messing about with them things, will you? Always messing about. Hey, you're a full-time liar, really, aren't you? I mean, that's really what you are. Terrible thing that is to be a liar. Shocking that is.
Please, may I have my letter?
After you've made the copy. I fancy it's strong tonight. Hello. You've got a new jar for the sugar, haven't you? Haven't seen that before.
Oh, yes, I have. Help yourself.
Aren't you having none, sugar? Aren't you having none?
No, I won't actually. Not tonight.
Good out. There we are then. Nice and sweet, way I like things.
You killed him, didn't you?
Don't start, Phil. Don't start.
You're not going to have my brother's address, not as long as you live.
Oh, we'll see about that. In due course, we'll see.
Not as long as you live.
So you had it all the time, did you? I mean, you was lying, saying you didn't have it. Telling an untruth, wasn't you? Not to be trusted, are you? Not trustworthy, I mean, are you? Not to be trusted. Come here.
Not as long as you live.
Come here.
No!
Inspector Dwyer.
What?
Dead. I see. Yes, I'll be right over. Stay there. I'll be right over. I was afraid of something like this. Well?
Body's over there, Inspector.
Well. So much for John Joseph Jenks. How did it happen, Mr. Mallard?
I couldn't stand it any longer. I realized what he'd done. I mean, the murder. I realized...
Yes. But how did Jenks come to take poison? How did you...
This particular poison has a molecular structure not dissimilar to sugar. He helped himself. I offered him the jar and he helped himself. It took effect quite rapidly, more or less painlessly. You see, I don't take sugar myself.
Very lucky. You lied, didn't you, about being within the night Hammond was killed?
Yes, I did. I'm afraid I did. I thought there really was a Phil, you see. Wouldn't or daren't, couldn't. I couldn't bear to think of anyone being hanged because someone wouldn't help him, so I helped him instead.
I see. I only wish you'd called me before you killed him, not after.
I knew that pub, that area. It could have been me so easily. I knew the area.
Well, we'd better be off.
Of course. Wonder if I might just post this on the way. It's to a friend of mine in Australia. Nothing about all this.
I'm afraid I shall have to have a look at it. Oh. Well, what's this mean? White resigns. Not the code, is it?
No, it's just about, our game of chess. I don't suppose I shall be able to go on with it now.
No, I suppose not.
I suppose this will make you quite famous, won't it? Important. I mean, after all, I'm a murderer, aren't I?
In tonight's presentation of A Well-Dressed Man by Frederick Raphael, you heard John Hayter as Philip, Gabriel Bayman as Jenks, and Hugh Rouse as Basil. Sheila Holliday played the part of Vivian, and others in the cast were Donald Monat, Bill Brewer, John Whiteley, Stuart Brown, and Derek Royal. A Well-Dressed Man was adapted and produced for Lux Radio Theatre by Michael Silver. Next week, Lux Radio Theatre will celebrate its 1000th performance, and for this very special occasion, takes pleasure in presenting 4 internationally known stars of stage and screen who are at present visiting South Africa: Richard Todd, Jean Kent, Vanessa Lee, and Peter Graves in Canaries Sometimes Sing, a delightful comedy by Frederick Lonsdale. Canaries Sometimes Sing has been produced for Lux Radio Theatre's 1000th anniversary by Anne Freed and directed by Henry Diffenthorpe. So until next Monday night at 8:30, this is your Lux Radio Theatre host, Peter Tobin, bidding you all good night.
Enjoy brighter radio listening with Blaupunkt Radiogram's automatic pre-select tuning.
Good evening. This is Peter Tobin introducing Lux Radio Theatre. Tonight and every Monday night at this time, Lux Radio Theatre presents for your entertainment the finest in radio drama. This week we present The Sound of Murder by Donald Westlake. Amy Thornbridge Walker is a little girl. Abraham Levine is a detective. When a little girl tells a middle-aged detective with heart trouble that her mother has murdered her stepfather by making a loud noise at him, what must a middle-aged detective with heart trouble do? Listen in a few moments to The Sound of Murder, adapted and produced for Lux Radio Theatre by Michael McCabe. And now, Act 1 of tonight's Lux Radio Theatre presentation, The Sound of Murder.
This tonight's?
Huh?
A paper.
Oh, yeah. Take it, Ed. Take it.
Well, thanks. So Pope John XII was the first prelate of the Roman Catholic Church to smoke cigarettes in public. Well, that's just great. whole world conspires against a man who tries to give up smoking. All around me, day by day, people puff at cigarettes. They don't make any fuss about it. They just smoke cigarettes. If I isolated myself against the smokers of the world, cigarette commercials on radio and television would drive me mad. The most popular sentence in all fiction is, "He lit another cigarette." Statesmen, entertainers, all of them, all smoking. Whenever news photographers snap them for posterity.
Quiet tonight.
Sure.
Yeah, being a cop is the most exciting thing in the world, Abe. You know that?
What? Oh.
Come along to Brooklyn's 43rd Precinct, folks. Thrill a minute. Ugh. I'm going to the John. Who knows? I might find a body in there.
Yeah, cockroach. Oh, yes. Sure, that is nice. That is very nice. The governor. Cigarette in FDR cigarette holder at a jaunty angle in his mouth. Oh, you're beautiful, Governor. The whole world. A grown man who tries to give up smoking is as a comic character. A Robert Benchley or a W.C. Fields, bubbling along, plagued by trivia, life an endless gauntlet of minor crises. They could do a one-reeler on me, a great little comedy. Laurel without Hardy. Hardy died of a heart attack. Abram Levine, 53 years of age, 24 years a cop, 8 years into the heart attack range. When I go to bed at night, I keep myself awake listening to the silence that replaces every 8th or 9th beat of my heart. When I climb stairs or do anything strenuous, those missed heartbeats come closer together. Every 7th, then every 6th, then every 5th. One day, my heart will skip 2 beats in a row. And then, and on that day, Detective Abraham Levine will stop. Because there won't be any 3rd beat. None at all. Not ever.
Huh?
Huh? Oh,
First sign, you know, Abe.
First sign? What of?
Nuts. Talking to yourself.
Well, I didn't hear you. Come in. Come back.
Heart?
Yeah.
I know a dozen guys with a heart that's kind of suspect. Yeah. What does the doc think?
Well, I went to him 4 months ago. He checked me over. Felt like an old auto brought to a mechanic. Or a boat. You know, a boat, its owner wanted to know whether it was worth fixing or not. Or just junk that ought to be replaced. Like it might have been necessary to get a new model. The house next door to mine, a baby cries every night. The new model crying for the old, the obsolete, to get off the road.
Well, you got a little skip in your heart. Lots of people have that, Abe.
Yeah, that's what the doctor said. Blood pressure's a bit high, too, but I paid the doctor his fee, but I'm kind of unconvinced. He said if I really wanted to do something for my heart, I could cut out the smoking. I haven't had a cigarette since.
And?
I understand for the first time in my life how those junkies we lock up feel. I'm ashamed of myself, becoming so dependent. But I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
How about turning the fan off? Cool enough.
Yeah.
Why can't the phone ring?
something. Now I'm trying to smoke a pencil. Come in.
What?
Someone at the door.
Oh. Push!
May I come in?
Yeah, of course. Come on in. Sit over here.
You care for a cigarette? No.
Jack, she's,
I want to talk to a detective. Are you a detective?
Yes, I am.
My name is Amy Thornbridge Walker. I live at 717 Prospect Park West, apartment 4A. I want to report a murder, a quite recent murder.
A murder?
My mother murdered my stepfather.
She's a nut. Hear her out and she'll go home.
Tell me about it. When did it happen?
2 weeks ago, Thursday, November the 27th, at 2:30 p.m.
What's your mother's name?
Gloria Thornbridge Walker. And my stepfather was Albert Walker. He was an attorney.
Was your father's name Thornbridge? Is that it?
Yes, Jason Thornbridge. He died when I was very small. I think my mother killed him too, but I'm not absolutely sure.
I see. But you are absolutely sure that your mother killed Albert Walker?
My stepfather, yes. My first father was supposed to have drowned by accident in Lake Champlain, which I consider very unlikely, as he was an excellent swimmer.
How long have you thought that your mother killed your first father?
I'd never thought about it at all until she murdered my stepfather. Naturally, I then started thinking about it.
Did, he die of drowning, too?
No, my stepfather wasn't athletic at all. In fact, he was nearly an invalid for the last 6 months of his life.
Then, how did your mother kill him?
She made a loud noise at him. I can't stay any longer. I stopped here on my way home from school. If my mother found out that I knew and that I told the police, she might try and murder me, too. I am not a silly little girl, and I am not telling a lie or making a joke. My mother murdered my stepfather, and I came in here and reported it. That's what I'm supposed to do. You aren't supposed to believe me right away, but you are supposed to investigate and find out whether or not I've told you the truth. My stepfather was a very good man. My mother is a bad woman.
Hey, what was that? Who was she?
She came in to report a murder. Her mommy killed her daddy by making a great big noise at him.
Come again?
I'll check it out.
Yeah, you do that. Kids come in here, they find dead bodies in alleys, and they see flying saucers on rooftops. They report counterfeiters in basement apartments, kidnappers in black trucks.
At one time, in 1,000, what a child reports is real and not a product of a young imagination. She did come up here as a joke. A bet, say. Oh, she's a fine little actress. Though, how can I tell? I haven't got any children. It's not easy to communicate with the very young.
Her mommy killed her daddy by making a great big noise at him. Yeah. How many shopping days to Christmas, Jack?
So?
November 28th obituary notice on Albert Walker. Cause of death, a heart attack. The mortician was Julius Merriman. The doctor was Henry Sheffield. I've just been talking to Sheffield.
Yes, so I got it.
You heard that?
Well, how could I hear Sheffield's part of it? My ears aren't that big. So,
Well, he said it was heart failure, pure and simple. Can't understand why the police should be interested in the case.
Neither can I.
Sheffield said that Walker had suffered a coronary attack about 7 months ago. The second attack was more severe, and he hadn't really recovered from the first. He seemed a bit put out about me calling him. Seemed to think I was implying a number of things. I don't know. He wasn't Mrs. Walker's first husband's doctor. Yeah.
Sorry, I leaned back too far that time.
Don't do that. Every sixth beat. The sixth. Need a cigarette. Need one more than I've ever needed one before. Jack, do you have a cigarette?
I thought you were giving him up.
Not around here. Please, Jack. Albert Walker died of a heart attack. She made a loud noise at him. The second attack was more severe, and he hadn't recovered from the first. It was every sixth beat there for a while, after the loud noise of Crawley's backward dive. Did Gloria Thornbridge Walker really kill Albert Walker? Will Abraham Levine really kill Abraham Levine?
Huh?
Huh?
I thought you said something.
No, I didn't say anything.
You changed your mind.
What? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever smoke again. Peg, I got a problem.
A problem? If you're coming to me, it must be awful.
It is.
I mean, it's not every night of the year.
Not every night I talk over problems with my wife, I know. Oh, younger men I know discuss everything with their wives, but me? Well, I'm a product of an older upbringing. I still believe women should be shielded from the more brutal aspects of life. I'm getting old.
That's your problem. Don't feel lonely, Abe. It happens to all kinds of people. Have some more gravy.
Oh, let me tell you. A little girl came in today. She was maybe 13 years old. She was dressed nicely, polite, very intelligent. She wanted to report that her mother had killed her stepfather.
A little girl? Thing like that?
No, wait, let me tell you. I called the doctor, and he said it was a heart attack. The stepfather, Mr. Walker, he'd had one attack already. The second one on top of it killed him.
But the little girl blames the mother. Psychological, you think?
I don't know. I asked her how her mother had done the killing, and she said her mother had made a loud noise at her father.
A joke. These children today, I don't know where they get their ideas. All this on the TV.
Maybe. I don't know. Man with a bad heart, bedridden, invalid, sudden shock, a loud noise. It might do it. Bring on that second attack.
What else did the little girl say?
That's all. Her stepfather was good, and her mother was bad, and she'd stopped off on her way home from school. She only had a minute because she didn't want her mother to know what she was doing.
You let her go? You didn't question her?
I didn't believe her. You know, the imagination children have.
But now?
No, I don't know. Now there's two questions in my mind. First, is the little girl right or wrong? Did her mother actually make a loud noise that killed her stepfather or not? And if she did, then question number two, did she do it on purpose or was it an accident? You see, maybe the little girl is right, and her mother actually did cause the death, but not intentionally. If so, I don't want to make things worse for the mother by dragging it out in the open. Maybe the little girl is wrong altogether. And if so, it'd be best to just let the whole thing slide. But maybe she's right, and it was murder. And then the child's in danger, because if I don't do anything, she'll try some other way. And the mother will find out.
I don't like that, a little girl like that. Could she defend herself? A woman to kill her husband, a woman like that could kill a child just as easy. Huh? I don't like that at all, Abe.
Yeah, neither do I. Question is, what do I do?
A child like that. A woman like that. Huh? And then again, maybe not. For right now, you eat. We can think about it.
It's here.
There you go again. Next door, baby. Move over, world, and give us room. Make way for the new. And they're right. We've got to take care of them. They're absolutely right. I've got to do something for that little girl.
So?
Yes. About that little girl.
You too?
Yeah.
I got to thinking about it myself last night.
We ought to check it out.
I know. I figure I ought to look up the death of the first father. Jason Thornbridge, wasn't it?
Good. I was thinking of going to a school, talking to a teacher. She's the kind of child who makes up wild stories all the time. Then, well, that's that. You know what I mean.
Yeah, sure. You know what school she's in?
Lathmore Elementary over on 3rd.
She tell you that? I didn't hear it if she did.
No, she didn't, but it's the only one it could be. I'm pulling a Sherlock Holmes. She told us she stopped in on her way from school. She was walking home, and there's only 3 schools in the right direction. So we'd be between them and Prospect Park. But they're close enough for her to walk. There's St. Aloysius, but she wasn't in school uniform. There's PS 118. But with a Prospect Park West address and the clothing she was wearing and her good manners, she doesn't attend a school like that. So that leaves Lathmore.
Okay, Sherlock. You go talk to the nice people at Lathmore, and I'll dig into the Thornbridge thing.
One of us ought to check this out with the lieutenant first. Tell him what we want to do.
Fine. Go ahead.
Jack, I think maybe you ought to be the one to talk to him.
Why me? Why not you?
Oh, I think he has more respect for you.
What are you talking about?
No, I mean it. If I tell him, I think he'd think I was dramatizing or getting emotional or something, and he'd say thumbs down. But you're the level-headed type. If you tell him it's serious, he'll believe you.
You're nuts.
You are the level-headed type, and I am too emotional.
Flattery will get you everywhere. All right. Go to school.
Thanks, Jack.
Okay, run around. Okay, run around. Run around, run around. Okay, run around. Come on, you don't need that big. No, stay, Clyde. We're going to take on the small. No, I don't care, Clyde. We're going to take
Yes, you see, it's difficult for us to check it out. It might help if we knew a little more about her, what her attitudes are, things like that. Yes, about this report she made yesterday, you see.
Yes, but what sort of report? Something about this school?
Oh, no, not at all.
Oh, her name?
Amy Walker. Amy Thornbridge Walker.
Oh, yes. Amy came to you yesterday.
That's right.
Well?
You see, I want to know what kind of child she is and, well, anything else you can tell me about her.
Well, I can tell you she's a brilliant and a well-brought-up child. I can tell you that she's the one I picked to be student in charge while I came here to talk to you. That she's always at least a month ahead of the rest of the class in reading the assignments. And that she's the most practical child I've ever met.
Her father died 2 weeks ago, didn't he?
Oh, that's right.
How did they get along, do you know, Amy and her father?
Oh, she worshipped him. He was her stepfather, as a matter of fact. Amy doesn't remember her real father. Mr. Walker was the only father she knew. Having been without one for so long, well, it was important to her.
She took his death hard.
Oh, she was out of school for a week, inconsolable. She spent the time at her grandmother's, I understand. I believe the mother had a doctor in twice to her, to Amy.
Yes, her mother. How do Amy and her mother get along?
Normally, so far as I know. There's never been any sign of discord between them so far as I've seen. But my contact with Amy is limited to school hours, of course.
You think there is discord?
Oh, no, not at all. I didn't mean to imply that. Just that I couldn't give you an expert answer to the question.
You're right. Is Amy a very imaginative child, would you say?
Oh, she's very self-sufficient in play, if that's what you mean.
I was thinking about storytelling.
Oh, a liar? No, Amy isn't the tall talk type. A very practical little girl, really. Very dependable judgment. Yes, as I say.
I beg your pardon, Miss Haskell.
Oh, no, not at all, Miss... I'm sorry. No, as I said, she's the one... Amy's the one I left in charge of the class.
She wouldn't be likely to come to us with a wild story she'd made up by herself.
Not at all. If Amy told you about something, it's almost certainly to be the truth.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Could you tell me what this wild story was? I might be able to help.
I'd rather not. Not until we're sure, one way or the other.
Well, if I can be of any assistance...
Oh, thank you. You've already helped.
You have all the luck, Abe. You missed the whirlwind.
Whirlwind?
Amy's mama was here. Dr. Sheffield called her about you checking up on her husband's death. And just before she came over here, she got a call from somebody at Lathmore Elementary saying there was a cop there asking questions about her daughter. She didn't like us casting aspersions on her family.
Aspersions?
Yeah, that's what she said. You're a little Sir Echo this morning, aren't you?
I need a cigarette. What did the lieutenant say?
She didn't talk to him. She talked to me.
No, when you told him about the little girl's report.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, he said it'd take a couple of days on it and then let him know how it looked.
Fine. How about Thornbridge?
Accidental death. The inquest said so.
Uh-huh.
No question in anybody's mind. He went swimming too soon after lunch, got a stomach cramp, and drowned. What's the word on the little girl?
Amy? Her teacher says she's reliable, practical, realistic. She tells us something, that's the way it is.
That isn't what I wanted to hear, Abe.
Didn't overjoy me either.
No, that isn't what I wanted to hear at all.
What did the mother have to say?
I had to spill it, Abe. About what her daughter reported.
Well, that's okay. Now we've got no choice. We've got to follow through. What was her reaction?
She didn't believe it.
She had to after she thought about it.
Sure. Then she was baffled. She didn't know why Amy should say such a thing. Couldn't understand it.
Was she home when her husband died?
She says no. Somebody had to be with him all the time, but he didn't want a professional nurse. So when Amy came home from school that afternoon, the mother went to the supermarket. Her husband was alive when she left and dead when she got back. Or so she says.
She says Amy was the one who found him dead?
No, Amy was watching television. When the mother came home, she found him and called the doctor.
Now, what about noises?
She didn't hear any and can't understand what Amy means.
All right. We've got one timetable discrepancy. Amy said her mother was at home and made a loud noise. The mother says she was out to the supermarket. After a lifetime of smoking, my hand just...
That's tough. So?
Yeah. What did you think of Mrs. Walker, Jack?
She's tough. She was mad, and she's used to having things her own way. Can't see her playing nursemaid, but she sure seemed baffled about why the kid should make such an accusation.
I'll have to talk to Amy again. Once we've got both stories, we can see which one breaks down.
Yeah. I wonder... Oh, I'm sorry, Abe. Look, I'll...
No. It's
been a lifetime for me, too. I can't.
Sure. Can't change a habit for me, Jack. Just sort of found myself watching you light that cigarette. Yes, I must see Amy again.
I wonder if she'll try and shut the kid's mouth.
Well, let's not think about that now. We've still got all day.
You're going to phone the Walker's place?
No, I'm going to call the school. I'll talk with Amy there. I'll ask that we're left alone. I'm sorry, Amy. I really am sorry. But you see, girl, we had no choice. Your mother had to know.
I think it'll be all right. She wouldn't dare try and hurt me now with you investigating. It'll be too obvious. My mother is very subtle, Mr. Levine.
You have quite a vocabulary.
I'm a very heavy reader.
I want to talk to you about the day when your father died. Your mother said she went out to the store, and when she came back, he was dead. Now, what do you say?
Nonsense. I was the one who went out to the store. The minute I came home from school, she sent me out to the supermarket, but I came back too quick for her.
Why?
Well, just as I was coming down the hall from the elevator, I heard a great clang sound from our apartment. Then it came again as I was opening the door. I went through the living room, and I saw my mother coming out of my stepfather's room. She was smiling, but when she saw me, she suddenly looked terribly upset and told me something awful had happened. And she ran to the telephone to call Dr. Sheffield. She acted terribly agitated and carried on just as though she meant it, just as though she really meant it. And she fooled Dr. Sheffield completely.
Why did you wait so long before coming to us?
I didn't know what to do. I didn't think anybody would believe me. I was afraid if Mother knew what I knew and what I was going to do, she might try and do something to me. But Monday in civics, Miss Haskell was talking about the duties of different parts of government, firemen and policemen and everybody, and she said the duty of the police was to investigate crimes and see the guilty were punished. So yesterday I came and told you because, well, it didn't matter if you didn't believe me. You'd have to do your duty and investigate anyway.
All right. Well, we're doing that. But we need more than just your word. You understand that, don't you? We need proof of some kind.
Yes.
What store did you go to that day?
A supermarket, the big one on 7th Avenue.
Do you know any of the clerks there? Would they recognize you?
I don't think so. It's a great big supermarket. I don't think they know any of their customers at all.
Did you see anyone on your trip to the store or back that would remember that it was you who went to the store and not your mother? That it was that particular day?
No.
No?
I don't think so. I don't know any of the people in the neighborhood. Most of the people I know are my parents' friends or kids from school, and they live all over, not just around here.
Well, we'll see what we can do. This clang you told me about, do you have any idea what your mother used to make the noise?
No, I don't. I'm sorry. It sounded like a gong or something. I don't know what it could possibly have been.
A tablespoon against the bottom of a pot? Something like that?
Oh, no, much louder than that.
And she didn't have anything in her hands when she came into the bedroom, out of the bedroom?
No, nothing.
Well, we'll see what we can do. You can go back to class now.
Thank you. Thank you for helping me.
It's my duty, as you pointed out.
You'd do it anyway, Mr. Levine. You're a very good man, like my stepfather.
Yeah. More ways than one, maybe. Well, you go back to class. Oh, wait. There's one thing I can't do for you. Now, look. Hope Mrs. Haskell doesn't mind me stealing a piece of paper from her pad. Now, look, this is the number of the precinct, and this is my home number there. Now, if you think there's any danger of any kind, any trouble at all, you can call me. At the precinct until 4 o'clock, and then at home after that.
Oh, thank you. You are a very good man. A very, very good man.
Switch off that lousy fan, Jack. It's like Antarctic in here. You have a fan on to keep cool, and I wear a coat to keep warm. We were born for different worlds. So?
Nothing.
Same here. Not a thing.
Sheffield says, in his opinion, that Amy's making the whole thing up. That her stepfather's death was a great shock, and all this is some kind of delayed reaction to it. Certainly he won't admit any possibility that Mrs. Walker murdered her husband. Neither can he see any possible motive for such an act.
Well, the only contradiction between both stories, Amy's and her mother's, is the bit about who went to the store the day Mr. Walker died. Find proof that either Amy or her mother's lying, and we'll have the full answer.
Yes, but who saw them? One or both of them? Nobody. Who could possibly remember? I've asked until I'm sick of asking.
Well, no one remembers. No one saw. No one knows anyone. It's a city of strangers we live in, Jack.
Oh, it's been 2 weeks. Their building has a doorman, but he can't remember that far back. He sees the same tenants go in and out every day. And he wouldn't be able to tell you for sure who went in or out yesterday, much less 2 weeks ago, he says.
She's home from school now. I wonder what they're saying to each other. If we could listen in, we'd know a whole lot more than we do now.
No. Whether she's guilty or innocent, they're both saying the same exact thing. The death's 2 weeks old.
Oh, you're right, Jack. If Mrs. Walker did commit murder, she's used to the idea now that she's gotten away with it. She'll deny everything Amy says and try to...
convince the girl she's talking out of the back of her neck.
The same things in the same words as if she were innocent.
What if she kills the kid?
She won't. If Amy were to disappear or to have an accident or be killed by an intruder, we'd know the truth at once. No, she can't take the chance. With her husband, all she had to do was to fool a doctor who was inclined to believe her in the first place. Besides, the death was a strong possibility anyway. This time, she'd be killing a healthy 12-year-old. She'd be trying to fool a couple of cops who wouldn't believe her at all. She's probably safer now than before she came to us. Who knows what the mother might have been planning up until now.
All right, that's fine, so far. But what do we do now?
Tomorrow I want to take a look at the Walker apartment.
But why not right now?
No, let's give her a night to get rattled. Any evidence she hasn't removed in 2 weeks she's unlikely to think of now. Well, all right, I don't expect to find anything. I want to look at the place because I can't think of anything else to do.
Sure. All we have is the unsupported word of a 12-year-old child.
Yeah, the body can't tell us anything because there wasn't a murder weapon. Walker died of natural causes. Proving they were induced won't be the easiest thing in the world.
If only someone had seen the kid at the grocery store. That's the only chink in the wall, Abe. The only place we can get a grip.
We can try again tomorrow, but I doubt we'll get anywhere.
Tomorrow, maybe lightning will strike.
Looking for cigarettes, for pity's sake. Why am I awake? All right, Peg. Okay, sleep. It's all right. It's all right. It's just your cub husband who can't sleep. I was asleep. No. Wasn't that baby. It was... Of course. By all that's... Of course. Did I dream it? Someone whispered in my ear. She'll kill her tonight. And then she'll get away with it. I know how she's gonna do it. And there'll be no way to get her for it. No proof, nothing at all. Avenue L. Oh, cab, please. Yes, 312 Crossfield. Ridgeway, yeah. Huh? Yeah, urgent. 5 minutes? Fine. I had to go out for a while. Be back soon. 10 to 1. Prospect Park, west. Fourth floor. Why does the elevator have to be on the 11th floor? It's quicker to... No, not me. As I left the house. That was the phone I heard. The phone! I'm too late. She's made a move already. I was too late when I left the house. Darn it. Gone again. Hallway light, too. Blown a fuse. Dark. Too dark. Telephone call as I left the house. She worked it out. She knew I was on my way here. I'll have to call the precinct. They'll need flashlights. It's too dark. Nothing. She heard me fall and she thinks I'm dead. That face, it was only phosphorescent paint on a balloon. A balloon pricked with a pin. The shriek, that probably came from a tape recorder. Full volume. My heart is weak, but not that weak. She tried to kill me. My heart's weak, but not as weak as Walker's still recovering from... It could kill Walker, the shock, but not me. No, Amy. It didn't work. Don't waste your time. If it didn't work at first when I wasn't ready for it, then it won't work at all. Your mother is dead. You killed her, too. Your father and mother, both. And when you called my home to tell me she'd killed herself, and my wife told you I had already left, you knew then that I knew. And you had to kill me, too. I told you that my heart was weak like your father's, so you'd kill me. And it'd simply be another heart failure, brought on by the sight of your mother's corpse. Do you want to know how I knew? Monday in civics, Miss Haskell told you about the duties of the police. But Miss Haskell also told me you were always at least a month ahead in your studies. 2 weeks before your stepfather died, you read that assignment in your school book. And then and there, you decided how to kill them both. The only thing I don't understand is why.
You'll never understand, Mr. Levine.
No. No, it's you who doesn't understand. To snuff out a life like that, it means nothing to you. You frightened, shocked him into dying.
It was bad enough when it was only her. Don't do this, don't do that. When she had to marry him, and there were two of them watching me all the time, saying no, no, no. That's all they ever said. The only time I ever had some peace was when I was at my grandmother's.
Is that why? That this useless, half-begun thing could kill and kill. Do you know what's going to happen to you? They won't execute you because you're too young. They'll judge you insane and they'll lock you away. And there'll be guards and matrons there to say, don't do this and don't do that. 1,000,000 times more than you can imagine. And they'll keep you locked away in a little room forever and ever. And they'll let you do nothing you want to do. Nothing. There's nothing you can do to me now. And I won't drink the poison you fed your mother, and your bag of tricks won't work. Not now. You see, I know, Amy. I know. Without even seeing your mother's body, I know. And there'll be a suicide confession forged somewhere, won't there? I know, Amy. I know. I'm going to phone the precinct now, and they'll come and get you. And you'll be locked away in that tiny room forever and ever and ever. You see, I was right, wasn't I, Amy? I know everything. There's your poor mother's body there on the bed. She looks sad, but not to you, I suppose. And there's the suicide note. See, I know everything, Amy. Everything.
Stay away from me! Stay away from me!
Why are you standing out there on the windowsill, Amy? Won't you catch a cold? Huh? They'll lock you away, Amy, in a tiny, tiny room.
No, they won't! No!
Yes. I know what I've done. I made it end that way. She never understood death, so it was possible for her to throw herself into it. The parents began the child, and the child ends the parents. Another baby, crying, wailing, saying, "Make way, make way." We will. We will. But in our own time. Don't rush us.
In tonight's presentation of Donald Westlake's The Sound of Murder, you heard Tony Jay as Abraham Levine, Sean Hewitt as Jack Crawley, and Linda Stewart as Amy Thornbridge Walker. Others in the cast were Sheila Holliday and Beryl Gordon. The Sound of Murder was adapted and produced for Lux Radio Theatre by Michael McCabe.